Hello, folks. Welcome to Scratch the Surface. I'm EJ Scott. Today, my guest is Matt Marr, host of the podcast Dear Mattie Show. You can find that on dearmattieshow.com. He's a good dude. I've known him for quite a long time from the improv world. He wanted to interview me. So this turned out, this originally happened because he wanted to interview me for his podcast. So he came over to my house and I simultaneously recorded it, and I ended up interviewing him as well as him interviewing me. So we talk about a lot of things. It's a couple-hour long podcast because we're two people that don't know each other very well, kind of learning about each other, and it was very interesting. And he's like I said, a good guy, very funny. And we talk about a lot of family stuff. I talk about my choroideremia, my blindness. He talks about coming out of the closet, and we talk about podcasting a bunch. So it was a really fun interview, and we talk about much more than that as well. I'm sorry I haven't podcasted in a while. Around the time that I interviewed Matt, I adopted 2 rescue puppies from Puerto Rico. They are sibling lab mixes. At the time, they were about 6 months old. Now they're about 9 months old. And I'm mostly by myself raising these puppies, plus my big dog. And it's been a lot of work, and for somebody that doesn't know how to raise dogs or know what they're doing and trying hard to do the right thing. But they're wonderful, wonderful dogs, and they still have a lot of training to do. They both eat poop. They still whine and bark kind of inappropriately sometimes. They jump when they shouldn't. They steal stuff off of the counters. Stuff like that. My big dog Banner is getting territorial. And so sometimes he can't be with them in the house. I have to separate them, which really sucks. So I'm working on all that stuff. So it's been a lot of work, and but I'm sure they'll be. I'm already in love with them so hard. So, but I'm sure in a couple months more time, it'll all be okay, with some more training and all that good stuff. But all right, so. That's about it for now. Listen to this podcast. I hope you like it. You'll learn some stuff about me and some stuff about Matt Marr. So this is from October 21st, 2017. I know it was a while ago. Enjoy my talk with Matt Marr.
I was speaking at a podcast conference, like a podcast movement, which was in Anaheim, which is much more like an entrepreneurial type of... I went to it last year in Chicago just to go, and it was good. It was cool in that there was just a lot of nerdy people who love podcasting, and they're like people that are like, I met like a woman who like her kid had like a rare heart murmur, so her podcast was all about how parents deal with like there's kids that have this heart disease, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. And then she branched out into like other type of children with other heart diseases, right. And then you would see people that are like, we're like farmers. We like to talk about dirt or whatever, or the really specific but not entertainment type of podcasters, right. Like what I'm used to hearing out here.
Farmers talking about dirt. I'll listen to that.
Yeah, so it was really that was. But then there's also people like, I talk about real estate, or I talk about making money from home, being an entrepreneur. There's a lot of that. Right. But I thought, but it was still cool that people were nice. It really wasn't like one of the best ways to grow your podcast is to get on other people's podcasts, and then you just kind of grow that way. And so I was on other people's show, my show, but I didn't really see a lot from that, but I learned a lot about interviewing, especially interviewing people that I have nothing in common with, right. And kind of making a connection and trying to make it work. But anyway, so I went to that again this year, and it was better because it was in Anaheim, so there was some more entertainment. I met some more like actor, creative people, which was cool. But anyway, there was this speech contest, and I thought, well, I'll do a speech. Really, I just did it for myself, just like, it's always good to get up and write something and talk about it and see how it comes out and just do it. Well, so there was only like 10 people, 11 people. They did a whole day, and I won the contest. So like next year I get to speak in front of like 1,500
What was the
podcasters.
speech about?
It was about how to tell a story effectively.
Right.
Because I don't know if you know that. So I started a camp.
You started a camp?
Yeah. I'm not one of the directors anymore, but I started a camp for LGBT. Oh yeah, you want to say LGBTQ youth, and it's a leadership camp. So it's like, you know how Dan Savage did the whole "It Gets Better" campaign. Do you remember those YouTube videos? Of course. So we kind of wanted to take that and be like, we want to tell queer youth not only does it get better, but in fact they can be leaders in their community. They can be teachers, like they can make change in their community or their church, wherever they want to do and be at. They can kind of be superstars. And so one of the ways we did that is that we started years ago this anti-bullying. Whenever remember when I was getting my master's in psychology, like 2009, 2010,
sure.
all those LGBT kids were committing suicide. Yeah, there was that kind of, and
like
so yeah,
wave of them.
Yeah, so we started this anti-bullying initiative where we taught the kids how to tell a story in an effective, powerful, and it's in a good word, in a manipulative way to get people to feel some sort of like activism or to get them feel empowered to take action about this certain issue, and the issue was bullying. So it was really cool. Like after we kind of taught the kids how to do this, they just started doing it. They ran everything themselves, and they were going to LAUSD schools and having conversations with other kids that were being bullied and kids that were bullying. It's still going on, and it started though from this guy in Harvard named Marshall Gantz, a professor there, and he was the person that organized Obama's campaign. And so that was his whole thing. It's this thing called public narrative, and how there's like 3 parts to a story. And the way you tell a story is that you have is like your story of self, which is kind of like your story, what you've been through, and then a shared story, which is you connect your story of self with other people's story of self. So I've been going through this, and then like you and I have a shared story. Like we know each other from IO, and I'm sure if we talked about IO, we probably got into improv for similar reasons, so then we have this connection.
Sure. And
then it would be like, well, we love improv. What are we going to do now? Let's go start an improv school.
Right.
We're not, but whatever. But Obama would always use that so well when he would speak about. Yeah. He would talk about like his mom, his like dad immigrating. And now he has a shared story with immigration. And he would talk about his grandmother was Rosie the Riveter in Nebraska on his mom's. So he would connect with all these Americans' story of selves. And then he would say, we all have the same history. He would literally say that. We have the same common values. And that's why I should be your president, because I want to change our, laws and government, da-da-da-da. So it's very effective as far as like getting... Yeah, so I talked about in my speech, I feel like a lot of people got up to sing and they wanted to be like inspiring, like you can be anything, which is great. It's fucking wonderful. I love all that Oprah shit. I love it. I just bought Oprah's like new book. But I like when I get up in front and when I talk to somebody, I always want to entertain. I want to make them laugh because I feel like that's my gateway in. But then also I want them to walk away and be like, oh, I actually learned something that it's not about me and my ego and me like feeling like I need to give somebody something. More of like, can I open a perspective for them to actually learn something? Or even if it's 3 days later, they go, oh, when Matt was talking about that, that's what I've been doing. Or I could do that, and that would help me be a better speaker. So that's kind of what I did. I told a little bit of my story of self and explained, and then I kind of started, and then I told like that narrative story, and then I said, so 3 parts of story of self, shared story of now, and then I kind of broke into, remember when I was talking about this? I did that on purpose because I wanted you to feel this and this, and I told them exactly like the technique I used, and I'd heard 4 or 5 other speeches, and so thank God again for improv, I took those speeches. I said when Miranda was talking about this and like being a dance instructor and feeling this way. I said that was her story of self, and now I feel this. I related to that because I felt da da da. So now Miranda and I have a shared story, which I think a lot of them weren't improvisers. So they're like, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "You just do it." But anyway, so that was a very long explanation.
So it went well.
What? Yeah, it went well. It was fun.
Did Drew see that?
This was the longest fucking.
Okay.
I'm glad we're not recording. Sorry. So I won the thing, and at the awards ceremony, I could have just skipped to this part. Sorry, I love talking about stories. So, then for the awards assembly, they do it like the Oscars, and so they announce the nominees, and then they announce the winner, and you come up and give a speech. Well, I didn't know the speech part, so I won. So I walk up to give a speech, and I literally walk by Dr. Drew, who's just sitting in the audience because he was getting an award later on, so that's why he was there. So I joke and all the time say I have gay ADD, but I really do. And so I went up there to speak or give my award, and they said, speak. And I was like, I don't know what to say. And I literally got up there and said, kind of don't know what to say right now. I just walked by Dr. Drew, who was, and I said, first of all, everybody talks how smart he is, but nobody talks about he's a silver daddy, and like he is hot, like he is tall, and he is handsome. And so
he keeps in shape.
Yeah, he's very much in shape. And so I talked about that, but then I talked about, which is true, that's one of the reasons why I started Dear Mattie, because it's an advice podcast, and I would watch Loveline when I was in high school, and that was one of the first, and I said this, first experiences me of being a gay kid in Oklahoma to see that, the things I was thinking about sex and sexuality in my life were actually totally normal, and not only was it normal, but like two straight men were telling me that I was cool, and they were also like making jokes about it and laughing about it, which is what I love being able to talk about, whether it's mental, emotional health, and then still have humor in it.
Yeah.
So I said that, and then they liked that, and then I walked off the stage, and then a producer came up to me and said, "We would love to have you on the show."
Interesting.
And I went, "Oh,
wow, that's so cool." I got to meet him I was on his show on HLN.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, my friend Karama was on that show. He was one of the guests, or like the panelists. Were you one of the panelists, or he did an interview with you?
Yeah.
Nice.
I was on twice during my run in 2012.
Yeah.
And then I was doing a fundraiser at Second City in Hollywood, and on his show, he said he'd come to it, and he actually did.
Yeah, he's so you know how nice, he's a super nice guy.
Good guy.
He's a good guy, yeah.
For sure.
They're just, yeah, so
And Corolla, I was on his radio show back when he was on CBS Radio many years ago, 10 years ago. My brother-in-law was bicycling across the country. Mm-hmm. This is before you and I met, I think. Was bicycling across maybe not.
We met in 2006.
Okay, so it's around that time. So he bicycled across country because his son has what I have, mm-hmm. and he wanted to raise money and awareness and mm-hmm. stuff. And I went with him and mm-hmm. documented it, and I was looking for any type of publicity I could get. Mm-hmm. And David Keckner from Beer Shark Mice.
Oh yeah,
grabbed me at I.O. and was like, "I think I could get you on the Adam Carolla show." And I was like, "Okay, great.
Okay, great.
How does that work?" He goes, "Well, I'm doing it tomorrow morning or whatever, a few days from now. And so it's at this address. So be there at this time." And I said, "Okay." And it turns out Carolla did not know I was coming.
Oh, wow.
So Dave walked into the studio with me in tow. And Dave's being interviewed by Adam. And then in the middle of it goes, "So who'd you bring?"
That's hilarious.
And then I started.
And Adam was cool with it? He was just like...
He seemed all right. He talked to me for a couple minutes and then moved back to Dave. He's like, "All right, well, thanks for being here." And then we talked to Dave more and stuff. But he didn't linger on me or anything. But it was nice of him to have me there and stuff. And really nice of Dave to even care.
Yeah, that's really, really sweet.
That much to be like, I'll just drag you in there.
Just drag you in there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool. So I know those dudes a little.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Oh, and then I had this other weird thing with Carolla. Again, he was still doing his show, and I got a phone call from one of his producers because at the time I was trying any way to make money because I was having a hard time supporting myself. Mm-hmm. So I had one of my odd jobs was reviewing porn.
I've done that job. I've done that.
What if we worked for the same place? But
Well, it was gay porn. So
No. It was, but the place I worked for did also review gay porn.
oh no, it was called like Queer Click. They wanted me to write an article about like psychology, and they're like, we don't want this shite to be just about sex. So since you're like have a master's in psychology, like write kind of like a thing about sex and psychology. They're like kind of like they wanted me to do like Savage Love, and I was like, well, that's cool, but Dan Savage kind of already does that
Right.
awesomely. So I did more like a narrative, like long. It was before Sex in the City, but it was like a gay Sex in the City, but they got the points across that way. But anyway, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, and we'll pay you like $20 an article, but you also got to review porn. I was like, okay.
And that's what, I don't know if you remember Alan Hawkins. He was involved at I.O. for a while. And Second City a lot, mostly. But he was working for this place, and when I put out the feelers of looking for work, he said, well, you get, I think it was $10 a review. You take a DVD, you watch it, you review it, you get like $10, and you get to keep the DVD. And I said, oh, okay.
Okay.
Whatever. And I ended up with
You had a massive porn collection.
Hundreds of DVDs. So I was like, well, I got to sell these now. So I go on
That's
Craigslist.
old school because...
Oh, Craigslist. Old school.
Well, it's also just the fact that porn on DVDs. Yeah.
Well, and a little bit of Blu-ray, but mostly DVDs. So I went on Craigslist, and I would make these crazy lists of, here are all the names of, I made specifically, because I used to just generalize and say I have a box of porn or whatever.
No, people need to know.
But they need to know.
They
like
need
the
to know.
collectors are like, oh, I need that one. So I had to write down all these names. One of Adam's producers, they did a segment of like, who's this person on Craigslist thing that they would do once in a while. Randomly, they chose me, not knowing that I was on the show before.
That's hilarious.
And they said, would you come on and talk about you selling all this porn? And I said, sure. And I've been on the show before.
That's hilarious. That's really funny.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So I talked to him on the air about my porn and why I'm doing it and stuff, and that was it. It was pretty funny. I wish I had a better memory of it, and I wish I had a recording of it. That'd be really funny.
Oh, yeah. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because that was radio.
I was radio, and I don't think CBS is going to give me any of
No, they give
the
no
backlog of their stuff. So
They don't.
whatever.
That's I should have been recording. That was a good story.
Oh, thanks. I'll tell it again if you want.
No, I'm sure that I don't feel like we're gonna have a lacking for things to talk about.
What did? All right, go ahead. I'll start. You start whenever you want.
And we're going. So what? Hello, everybody. It's a podcast. Whoop whoop. We're here. You are very handsome, EJ. I have to say, you have pretty eyes. I'm not sexually harassing you. I'm just telling you.
You are a little bit. You're Harvey Weinstein a little bit.
I just want to say you're a nice looking guy. Hey, everybody. This is a random way to start the show. No, it's not. Everybody's going to be like, Matt, you always talk about how cute guest star.
Yeah.
I'm Matt Marr. Welcome to Dear Mattie show.
I'm no Dr. Drew.
Yeah.
I'm no Dr. Drew.
You know Dr. Drew. I'm with EJ Scott. What does EJ stand for?
Edward Joseph.
Oh, that's good. EJ Scott.
I'm the third.
You're the third.
My dad's a junior, and my grandfather was the OG.
Oh, wow. And where are you from?
Long Island, New York.
Oh, yeah. How long have you been out in Los Angeles?
Moved out in 2003.
Okay.
And then I moved to Chicago in 2008.
Oh, is that where you got into improv?
No, I got into improv in New York. And when did I get into improv? Late 90s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been doing it about 20 years.
Well, you're good at it. You're good
thanks.
at it.
Thanks, man.
No, you are. That's how so everybody. So EJ Scott is from Scratch the Surface podcast. Do you
Available on iTunes and iHeartRadio.
Oh, iHeartRadio. Mm-hmm. That's fancy.
Thank you.
So I don't even know. Wow. He used those blue eyes for something else.
It's funny you say that. My eyes are not blue at all.
Are they gray? What color?
One's like...
Oh, they're two different colors.
Two different colors.
You have brown and then like a greenish blue aqua thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you're like one of those celebrities.
You don't even know what you're looking at. You don't even know what you're looking at.
I don't. Have you always had two different color of eyes?
Always. If you look at like when toddler pictures of me, you can tell. You can tell.
Yeah, I look at it's interesting. I guess because I'm right. I always look at people's right eye. I don't look at the left eye.
You pointed to my left eye.
Oh, I'm stupid. I look at your left eye. I know somebody's driving in their car. Patrick Hine, one of my tech guys, yelling in the car, "This interview is terrible." No, so thank you for being here.
Sure.
We've known each other for
what would we say, 06?
I think 06 from IO West. That's where I started doing improv.
Because I moved out to, because I moved out to Chicago in 08, and then I moved back to LA in 2011.
Yeah.
So right before I moved, we knew each
Which
other.
we've been and then I've just followed you on the socials. I see what you're up to.
That's how you do it.
I told EJ, but it's still, EJ is the one man who's had the distinction of grossing me out because my mother thinks EJ. My mom said a guy's good looking before, but when your mom gets a little like graphically attracted to someone, I don't know if you've ever had that, and you're like, I know my mom's a person, but this was years ago. But I was still
Did your mom
like,
talk about my penis?
No, she didn't talk about your penis, but she talked about you being tall.
He's like Rock Hudson. Did she give like some old school like reference like that?
Yeah, he's like Bing Crosby without the angry.
He could have been in Birth of a Nation.
But I just remember I went, mom. But yeah, thank God she doesn't listen to this show. So how long you've been doing Scratch the Surface for what, like 4 years now?
4 years, yeah, just about, yeah.
So tell everybody what your show's about.
It's just mostly it's an interview show, not unlike this one right now, I guess. Once in a while, I'll do like roundtable discussions. Like I did one about the Women's March, and I had 3 women here talking about it. And I'm a Howard Stern fan, so one time I had a bunch of Howard Stern fans, and we just talked about Howard Stern's show for a while. Just like fun stuff like that. But mostly it's interviews. Mostly it's artists like actors and writers and comic book people and improvisers and stuff like that.
Yeah, basically all our same pool of friends. Yeah. What do you still, because you asked me when I got here, like, do you like it still? Because I've been doing it 3 years, and I said, I do, I love it. And, but what do you still, or hopefully you still like it because you're doing it, what do you still like about podcasting?
I just like talking to people. I think Mark Maron because I listen to him a lot, made a good point of saying, how often do you get to just sit down
and stop
and really talk to somebody for an hour, 2 hours?
Yeah.
And really, like, never.
Never.
Almost never. Maybe once every few weeks, a friend of mine will go, and I will go to lunch or something like that. Maybe my girlfriend and I will even have an hour discussion every couple days, something like that. But very rarely, especially with my podcast, because I'm asking all these people to be on that are semi to pretty famous, but who I've known for a long time, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have like a Mark Evan Jackson who came in the other day, who I've never ever had a conversation.
You don't sit down and have these conversations with people.
No, and we talked for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. And then sometimes I get to interview people I don't know at all, like Taran Killam from Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just nice enough to come over, and I just was like, oh, cool, I get to talk to Taran Killam and
that's great.
For a couple hours. And he even said he'd come back in a couple weeks to promote his new movie. So
look at that.
Yeah, pretty exciting. So
you are a nice guy.
Oh, thanks.
You're a nice guy.
And but I like it. I like podcasts. So once I was starting to do podcasts, like as a guest, and I just thought, well, maybe I could do one. It seems like there's not much to it. I think I could talk to people, and
it's not bad. Although your setup's fancier, you have like a mixer.
I don't know what any of it does though.
It's
That's the
Did someone just set it up for you? And
kind
that's
of.
basically
one of the podcasts I did was called Pop My Culture, which isn't on anymore, but. This is the exact same setup they had, because I was like, and the guy just helped me. He's like, here's what I use, and I just bought everything he said to buy, and he's like, here's the settings I have it at, and I just set it up how he has it. And
I just copy people too.
And he even came over and gave me a tutorial and stuff a couple
that's
times.
great.
Yeah.
One day I would love to have a tech person.
I don't know. I had to pay him for two tutorials. I'll do it for you, but I don't know anything what I'm doing.
No, I'm fine. I don't need So, it's so funny that you said it too, because it's been interesting interviewing my friends, because you're like, hey, I need somebody to be on my podcast. And you're right. You don't even sometimes, with some of the advice questions that come up, I mean, they're random. They're from listeners. So sometimes it'll be like a friend that we never talk about like our own like sex lives or something, but somebody asks a sex question or somebody's talking about their relationship with their, like we have a question, somebody's talking about their relationship with their mother. And I have a friend that I've seen all the time, got drunk with, done all that stuff, done shows with even. And then you're like, oh, I never really talked to you about your mom. No. So,
even like you and I,
that way.
We've never sat like this.
No, ever. We would just like say hi.
And I.O. it's so easy because there's 100 people there or whatever. Yeah. And you just kind of pass in the night and do, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
What's going? What's new? And small talk, and then you move on to the next person, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's it. When did you get bit by the bug? As far as like, was your goal as a little kid? I know it changes for all of us, and maybe it's still the same. Was it to be an actor, to be an interviewer? Like, what was like kind of the passion that hit you as a kid?
Growing up, I wanted to be an artist, and mostly a comic book artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I'm so glad to... y'all, I just sat up in my chair. I was like, what?
I have so much shit around. I have so much nerdy shit around my house. You see all my Batman stuff.
Yeah, I'm a big one, like huge Wonder Woman. I'm like my boyfriend makes me keep it all. I have a Wonder Woman kitchen, so it's pretty much all just in the kitchen, and like my mixer's decorated.
That's
like
not
Wonder
very feminist. I'm gonna say.
That's
right?
True. That's really fucking like my mixer.
Get her out of the kitchen, you son of a bitch.
I'm gonna tell him that. I'm like,
you misogynist.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, it's good for me. Finally, like we're having our year for Wonder Woman because I mean, there's a picture of me. I mean, as a little kid in a like white diaper, red galoshes, and a jump rope, like 4 years old.
That's funny.
So yeah. So anyway, I get the. So you've been an artist.
Yeah, I was an artist for a long time. Went to art school for a couple of years in Sarasota, Florida, at an art school called Ringling School of Art and Design. And I didn't do very well there, so I started rethinking my life. Mm-hmm. And I'd always wanted to try acting, but I was really shy as a kid. Mm-hmm. But I was like, well, it's now or never. Mm-hmm. That's how I felt. I was like, maybe it's just not right for me right now, and let me just give it a shot. So I moved back to New York because I'm from Long Island. I moved to Florida, and I moved back in with my parents. And then I commuted into the city every day for like 4 years. Mm-hmm. And that's where I got the improv bug, was at a place called HB Studios, which is a nonprofit acting school. And it was so cheap to take classes there.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was great. You could take, at the time it was like $140 for like 16 classes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. For like 4 months of classes.
That's nothing.
Like $140, something.
Is it still in existence?
HB is still in existence. I don't know what their rate is now. That was 20 years ago. But I first started improv there. I thought maybe I should take an improv class. At that time, Whose Line Is It Anyway was happening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I loved it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'd never be able to do what those guys do. But maybe I should just know what improv is, like the basic, as a tool.
Yeah, that's what I got into. I was like, I'll just do it because other actors said you need to do it.
Yeah. And then immediately fell in love with it, immediately. And I took that one teacher, I took her class like 4 times in a year.
That's great.
In a year and a half or something like that, just over and over again. And then I tried my hand at stand-up comedy to also work out nerves and stuff like that, stage fright. But improv, I just loved it. And at a certain point after I finished taking all those classes and commuting, I went to a 2-year conservatory in the city. And after that was done, I got a job in Long Island working at the IRS.
Oh, wow.
And I hated it so badly. I got like depression from it and everything. But at that time, I was reading the Tom Shales SNL book. Do you know that book?
I don't.
Live from New York. But in it, it's like an interview book.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's all these interviews in chronological order of like people from Dan Aykroyd all the way to Jimmy Fallon.
I would love that.
Everything in between. It's a great book, and they all talk about improv, from Second City to Groundlings to I.O., everything in between. So it got me really inspired to get back out and be like, what do I want to do? What made me happy?
Yeah.
What made me really happy? And improv made me really happy. So I decided over Chicago to move to Los Angeles, but Chicago was I was thinking about it, and and as soon as I moved out here, I took classes at IO, Second City, and the Groundlings at the same time. I signed up
all
to
at the same time?
All
Oh,
three
wow.
at the same time. And so I was doing improv classes 4 days a week.
Would you recommend that? Like, would you
Yeah,
feel like
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like a...
For me,
Well, did it
was
confuse
great.
you, like doing...
Yeah.
I've done IO, and I've done level 1 of Groundlings, and it was so fucking hard for me because I'm used to doing stand-up and stuff, so I'm pretty... And I kind of have a little bit more writer's mind, you know?
Yeah,
So IO was difficult when I first did it, but I got the hang of it more.
Yeah.
Whereas Groundlings killed me. Do you know Colleen Smith? Redhead,
No.
tall, redhead. Anyway, she's super nice. But she was my teacher, and she was like, "You need to take this again, but I think you can get it." And but it's still though what I loved about improv. Like my boyfriend, I'd come home and be like, "How was your class?" And I was like, "I fucking sucked."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, babe. It went so
okay.
bad." I was like, "No, I had a ball.
Yeah.
Like I had so much fun, but I knew I was terrible. But it was just a great space. I feel like people." It really is the onus is on us, but everybody should find it. When I did IO, which I enjoyed a lot, like Eric Honeycutt and like Aaron Krebs, like I have wonderful teachers, but I had that pressure on me of like, I need this tool for like to be an actor. And when I went to Groundlings, I was like, I just want to like be better improv and have fun.
Yeah.
And I always recommend when I have actor friends now, they're like, I probably should take improv. I'm like, don't put pressure on yourself. Just fucking have fun,
Yeah.
and you're going to enjoy it so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do recommend.
So I'm
if
sorry,
you
back to my
like
question.
improv-
Yeah, was that hard for you doing all those? Was there
Yeah.
one you struggled with more?
Because I didn't do it in like a year and a half, and I struggled with all of them at one point. And I had I didn't like going into it. I didn't have a good view of long form because I had seen a couple of shows of long form in New York, and I didn't like them. So I was going in thinking short form's better, and that changed as soon as you see a bunch of IO shows with Craig Kakowski.
I was literally about to
Bob
say, when you see
Dassey or-
Craig Kakowski do long form improv, you realize it's incredible.
Beer Shark Mice,
Yeah.
whatever. You see
Yeah.
any of these guys do long form, you're going, oh, this is another level stuff.
Yeah.
And so I struggled with it for a while, and then I felt myself going, oh no, I'm okay. The rust is coming off, and I was able to go from Second City and feel like I did well in class, and then the next day do IO and feel like I did well, and then the next day, and they're all three different styles.
Yeah.
So, but I felt like if I could keep that up, then that's really good, you know. And then eventually I got sick of Second City because they were starting to aim towards written material. Same with Groundlings, but once you do the second level of the Groundlings, you're put on a waiting list anyway.
Yeah.
So after that, my focus was on IO and doing long form stuff. So I was there like every day for 5 years.
Yeah, I remember you were there all the time.
Yeah.
Do you still improv now?
I haven't improvised in a few months. It's much, much rarer that I improvise now, but I miss it a lot. And when I moved to Chicago, I was improvising regularly for 3 years. So I did improv regularly for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
And even when I was in Chicago, I was still studying. I went through Second City program.
Definitely got those outliers,
Yeah.
like those 10,000 hours in.
Yeah, I tried to. And but once I moved back here, it's been a lot less. So the last 5-6 years, it's been a lot less. But I miss it. I miss it a lot.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of your focus has come into, good segue, Matt, but your focus really has come into like activism for you
Yeah.
and awareness, and because you have, it's a degenerative, I never know how to say it.
Quadrophenia. Just
Quadrophenia.
kidding.
No, okay. No, that's something totally different. So no, but tell everybody, because I remember again seeing this on social media, and I never talked to you about this at IO, and it's like but you're losing your sight, correct?
Yep. I'm losing my eyesight. I'm going blind. It's degenerative and genetic. My grandfather was blind. It's an X-linked disease, which means the women are carriers and the men get it. So my mom's a carrier. My aunt is a carrier, but she never had kids. So my mom had 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl, and me and my brother have it, and my sister's a carrier. And then my sister had 2 boys, and they both have it.
So it basically so when did you start to notice this, like your eyesight changing, or when did you know that you even were diagnosed?
Well, and I mentioned it's called choroideremia. I don't know if I mentioned
Oh yeah, cool.
choroideremia. I started noticing things in my teens around 15, and what I was noticing was these bursts of light in my eyes, like fireworks. They were almost like fireworks in my eyes. And I was like, this is like distracting.
Yeah, you're like trying to look at, yeah.
And I couldn't figure out what it was, and it just stayed. It wasn't going away. It wasn't constant, but it would pop up every once in a while. So I told my mom, and we went to an eye doctor, and he looked at my eyes and was like, no, I don't see anything unusual, and sent me on my way. And I was like, that's it? I'm still getting them. I didn't understand.
Yeah, it's not helpful.
And my mom and my parents never talked about how my grandfather's blindness could be genetic.
Oh, they just thought it was...
They thought, they were hoping, I think they were hoping
They were
it was
trying to
just
tell themselves, yeah.
it's just him. And my mom and her siblings were lied to by my grandparents, and they believed for a long time that he went blind from a hunting accident, which was not true. And so then my mom found out it could be genetic, but she didn't talk to us about it. And then my brother, who's 10 years younger than me, suffered, and maybe still does, suffer from really bad migraines, violent migraines where he'd like throw up.
Yeah.
So he at the age of 16, they started testing him for all sorts of things, trying to find out why that was happening. One doctor said something's going on in his eyes. He should get that looked at by maybe a specialist or something. And that's what happened. And we were first misdiagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa, which is very closely associated to choroideremia. It has the same symptoms, but it kind of affects the genetics differently, and it could affect women, and it could affect one person and not anybody else, and it could be very random like that. But choroideremia is much more predictable. So I was 27 when I was diagnosed. And it was right before I moved to Los Angeles. Right in that area when I was working at the IRS.
Okay. So, and I mean, first of all, like I can't imagine, like, because there's no cure for this, correct?
Correct. No cure.
So is it...
Or treatment.
So no treatment either.
No.
So I can't imagine. What was that like for you to be diagnosed with? I mean, how did you take it? I know some people take it, and like, you obviously are a funny guy. Like, did you use humor, or like, was it, how'd you do with that?
I was in denial about it for a little while. Because how it works is it attacks peripherally and then erodes it over time into like a tunnel vision.
Okay.
And then that'll go away. So I'm in like the tunnel vision area now, but at the time I had more of my peripheral. So I thought, well, I think I see okay. I see some things peripherally and stuff like that. And so I started just convincing myself it was going to be okay. And then, I don't know, a year later, my sister got pregnant, and I started thinking, well, if it's a boy, then he'll have it too. And that's when I started doing fundraisers at I.O. and started talking about it more openly. But it was hard. Initially, it was hard. I've cried a ton of times, and I'm still dealing with it. I'm still dealing with it changed my opinion. It changed my relationship to my grandparents, even though my grandfather had already died when I was 15. But it changed my relationship with my grandmother, who was still alive at the time, and with my parents too. I just kind of was like, "You guys didn't tell me this." Like I felt lied to. I felt betrayed, and I'm still dealing with some of that stuff. Especially how we're as a family, how we're all dealing with it, because my sister has 2 boys that she hasn't told.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that they have it, and that is a huge mistake. In my opinion,
and in
other professionals' opinions, 12 and 8.
Oh, they're old enough to know that.
It should have been. It should have been
just told
when they were growing up. It should have been. It should have been normalized early on. Because now what'll happen is they'll be told, like me and my brother, and it'll it'll be like more of a traumatic thing, conversation.
It's not similar, but you hear about kids don't find out till they're adopted until they're like 25.
Oh, it's very similar.
And whereas that really would have been a much smoother. Yeah. And if my own therapist opinion, that's fucked up. They should tell. This is a thing you want to talk about earlier than later.
Yeah. And
that's got to be re-traumatizing for you too. Like you're trying to get past your own situation of them not telling you, and then you obviously, like, I do see you talk about your nephews and stuff all the time on social. I know you and I love my I know that you love them very much. So to see them is probably very hard.
Oh, it's excruciating for me to feel like I'm lying to them too.
Yeah.
And I have their names tattooed on me, on my arms and stuff, and so I love them to death. And
do they know you have it?
I don't know what they know about me. I walk with a cane, so they've never asked me directly about it. So I don't know what they know or what they don't. It's my sister and her husband have made it very awkward to really be open about talking about it. So I don't feel comfortable asking them. So what do they know? What do they not know? I tried doing that early when on my first nephew when they were younger, and saying, here's my experience with what happened, and I don't think it's a good idea that you don't tell people. And but she did what she did. So there's a tension. They're all in New York. They're all live around each other. That's my brother, my sister, the boys, and my parents. They all live very close to each other in New York. So I'm very far away from it, somewhat on purpose too, because there's just to me there's so much tension.
It's a lot of dysfunction.
And it's a lot of, when we're around it and we're talking about it, I'm like, is this okay to talk about? I mean, they're like in the next room.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of almost like coming out. Because I always say that people have to come out about something in their life, and you have to learn to accept it, and you go through the stages kind of coming out. Because I'm imagining, even for you, like beginning to tell people at I.O. and like taking the onus and telling people this, you have to deal with their reactions to it. Some people freak out. Some people are like, okay.
They get awkward. Or
then
they try too hard.
Exactly.
And there's a bunch of different times that I've had to do that when you're, changing cities, which I've done from LA to Chicago, and then another time when I started walking with the cane. So now it's like I was hiding that for a while when I first got it. But at a certain point, I was like, I have to get used to using it, and people have to get used to seeing me with it. So I just used it all the time so that people would get used to it. Then there was like things with my girlfriend where we'd have an opportunity to be on like a red carpet, and there was that first time where I go, should I bring my cane out there too? Like I don't want to hide it. I don't want to seem like I'm hiding it. So I brought it out there with me, and I was like, yeah, photograph me. This is how I look most of the time with a cane. So I think because my family's so secretive about it, and there's more secrets too, where when we got diagnosed, we weren't allowed to talk to my grandmother about it.
Oh my gosh!
So she ended up dying, not knowing that we all.
So a lot of like people trying to protect, but in another way, creating a lot of like shame.
A lot of shame and a lot more tension.
It really sounds so much. I know it's so very. But I know people that are gay that are only out to certain people.
It'd be easier if we were all gay.
Yeah, we would. Yeah. Because people.
And I think about like.
It's because they feel not directed, but it's because they would feel like does your mother feel like it's her fault, and so therefore they wouldn't let you tell your grandmother, and now your sister feels the same. The
grandmother thing was because my dad would say it will kill her because she was like in her late 80s at that point. She ended up dying at 92. My dad didn't want his sister to know because they weren't speaking. They're still not speaking. My sister didn't want my parents to know about her boys because it would worry them. Females take on a lot of guilt from it. But it's so weird though, because the people that actually have it seem to have the least control over it. Mm-hmm. You know, because it's a parent thing. Mm-hmm. You know, the parents are the mothers are deciding what happens, even though the boys have it.
And and the mothers are the carrier. So if you have children, if you had a daughter, would she be a carrier?
She'd be a carrier.
So has that influenced your decision to have children or not?
I'm ready to have kids. It's my girlfriend that's more on the fence, not necessarily because of choroideremia, but because she's more career-oriented. Mm-hmm. We might adopt at some point or something, which I'm happy to do. But no, I would have kids. It wouldn't affect me not having children. Mm-hmm. No.
And so, and obviously it seems like your life here with your girlfriend, and I don't know what it's like with her family, and just your friends here, everybody knows here and is supportive of you and your life.
Yeah.
So it's like, I remember when I was out at college at North Texas, but not out to my family. So like I would have this,
right.
It's
traumatizing.
Yeah. Because you know how good it can feel.
Yeah.
Where it's just, where you're open and then you have to go back into that like closet or whatever you want to talk metaphor for it. It's horrible. My heart breaks for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you know, my best friend growing up was gay, mm-hmm. and he didn't tell me. I didn't find out until we kind of after high school kind of went our separate ways, and then when we were both in our 20s, somebody told me, "Hey, Stephen came out of the closet." And I go, "No kidding." You know?
Yeah.
And I think about that now, and I go, Jesus, he couldn't even tell his best friend that he was gay. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we've reconnected a little bit, and that was hard for him. You know, like growing up and just not being able to tell people.
And it's not, and that wasn't about you. It was more about his own shit.
Yeah.
But it
made me feel bad.
But it made you feel bad. And it's the same like your mom and your sister are dealing with their own shit and putting it on you.
And my nephews.
And it makes and their children, and that's just
the problem with that one is they don't seem to understand. They're thinking more in the present of like well, it's hard. I don't want. My sister has said things like, I don't want to ruin their childhood and stuff like that. But I'm going, but you could be damaging them when they find out. You could be really damaging their adulthood. You could be damaging your relationship with them. It could be
because you plan your life. Yeah. Like you plan
even as a kid, you just envision your life a certain
even
way.
when I came out.
Yeah.
Like I grieved the life that I thought I was going to have at the time. And at the time, it seemed so, I could have had children. Well, I know I can now. But still, it was in that moment. Right. And I was going to say it was better because that really being gay isn't that big a deal.
Right.
This is a big deal because I realize now that really didn't change my life that much. It just made it better. This is going to, maybe it has changed your life for the better. I hope in some ways it has. But still, you're losing your sight. I mean, that you imagine things like you want to be able to either see your children or your grandchildren and things like that. Those things you plan for.
Yeah.
And so it's the justice superhero person to me that like fairness and gets angry.
No, I think about that all the time. I'd like to be around I'd like to be a seeing dad so I can interact with my child more and stuff like that. So hopefully in the next couple of years, a child will be in our future and in our family. But I've had to make changes. I moved to Chicago in 2008 because getting around Los Angeles and acting and that pursuit was really difficult. The last time I went, I was doing a lot of extra work. Mm-hmm. And the last time I did extra work in LA, I had to drive to this, I don't even remember, it was far. And I'm also sunlight sensitive. So the sunlight's very bad for my eyes. Light in general, I'm kind of sensitive about. I wear a hat all the time for glare. I have a hard time seeing when it's darkly lit or whatever. So one of these last times I did extra work, I drive onto the set, which was outdoors, and I asked one of the other extras, like, where's the holding area? And they said, it's out here. So, like, holding was outdoors in Los Angeles, so it's all sun. And then they go, yeah, we're going to be shooting out there, which was just like a clear field, not a stitch of shade or anything. And I was like, fuck this. And I turned around and I just left. And that was, then I pretty much made the decision. I think I'm going to move to Chicago because at least I can take public transportation because I need to stop driving, and I can improvise there.
And now does it work? I mean, there's things like Uber and stuff now, but still, so now is that just what you use and for now? I mean,
that changed everything. Thank God for Uber and Lyft and those things because I couldn't take a cab everywhere. And I was trying to take public transportation, but that's a long walk to the bus, and it's like I said, it's really bright out all the time.
I mean, they're speeding up the metro. I don't know how long you're going to live here in this house, but I mean, now because of the Olympics, it's all going to be done by 2028 now, but that's still a ways away.
That's a ways away. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see
in
what
11
happens
years. But so I've had to make a lot of changes, and I still fantasize about being an actor. I still, part of me wants to still try it, but there's also that awkward fear of, all right, I walk into an audition with my cane. They're already going to be like, what's going on with this person? You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's a level of diversity that keeps getting pushed like actors, but I feel like they're only focusing on racial diversity and like female, which is great. We need to focus on these things.
Certainly.
But I do feel like I go to auditions and I think like, why couldn't somebody who's in a wheelchair do this role?
Yeah.
I think about that all the time and how like I haven't done anything about it. It's something, and so it's interesting that we're talking about it now, but it makes me go like, what can we do or I do? Because I do know there's people out there that probably aren't auditioning, that are very, like yourself, that are very talented, that are very funny, so a character's blind. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Or even and I could play a sighted character.
Yeah.
I don't have to play a blind character, but I do have I am a little high maintenance because of if I had to do something outdoors during the sunlight, I would have a hard time with it, or I would need some provisions or something like that. Or in the dark, same thing. I probably wouldn't be able to see anything. But if it's a controlled atmosphere or something, I could do it. I could do it, I think. But now it's acting's hard enough, and getting to auditions and getting an acting job is hard enough without this extra thing. But I do still think about it. But luckily, my motivation's taken away because my girlfriend does well enough for both of us.
Yeah. Well, I never thought about this. How ironic is that? So your girlfriend's on Daredevil. What was that like for your relationship with
Daredevil's a blind character?
Yeah. Did that come up for people listening? Vol, right? Deborah Vol. Yeah, she was on True Blood. She's blonde now, but in Daredevil. Which I forget her name on Daredevil.
Karen Page.
Yeah, I'm halfway through Defenders right now, which I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, she's on Defenders, and she's on the upcoming The Punisher.
I'm excited about that too. Yeah, she's working like crazy. But for your relationship, that's what I'm interested in. Like, I mean, that's fucking ironic a little bit that she's like in this relationship with somebody who is blind. Like, did y'all not even really talk about it? Was it like she was on a roll, or what was that like?
Well, when Daredevil came up. It was brought up right away that I was like, how fucking funny would that be if you got this role as with the blind character and your boyfriend's blind? I mean, it's ended up working in the favor of the cause of trying to raise awareness for the cause and everything, because we get write-ups. People are kind of interested in that little, it's a kind of gimmicky, I guess. Yeah. But we've had some articles written and stuff like that, so it's been fun. It was a plus for me. It was a plus, one, because I'm a comic book nerd, and two, that the character is blind, and the guy playing him is is a great guy, Charlie Cox, who cares very much about doing justice to the role and to the blind community.
I mean, as a comic book nerd, that's pretty awesome when your hot girlfriend is a comic book. That's I
love it.
Yeah, I want my boyfriend to be Batman. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to an advice question. I only have one anyway, so I'm glad we spent so much time talking. So we've got plenty of time. But Has there, and the answer could be no, but I'm interested in, like,
No.
I think people...
Answer's no.
People are listening to this that, that aren't going to lose their sight, and they're thinking, oh, that would be so horrible. And I even remember as a kid, like, you would play that game, like, if you had to lose one of your senses, what would you lose, and all that kind of stuff. But it's not a real, like, has there been anything that, have you gained anything from this, coming to, as far as the diagnosis and with this, or do you feel like you're losing?
Well,
Like, where do you feel? I mean, I know you are losing
like,
sight, but, like, what do you feel like it's giving you that maybe you wouldn't have had before?
Well, I got motivated to run marathons.
Oh yeah, we didn't even fucking talk about that.
Which
You run marathons. Talk about that. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Well, I've never been an athletic person in my life. I was a couch potato, and I struggled with my weight, and I smoked for 15 years and stuff like that. But I got inspired by this guy I know that has the same eye disease. He's run a bunch of marathons. And my brother-in-law, like I mentioned, he did that bicycle. He bicycled across the country. That was inspiring. So I thought, well, I wanted to lose weight. That was first. Because I was about 270 pounds, and I wanted to lose about 70 pounds. And I did, and I was able to make it a fundraiser. I raised $14,000.
Wow.
Losing 70 pounds in 8 months. And towards the end of that, I said, I'm skinny now. Now I should try to keep it off. And I thought, maybe I'll run a marathon. I've never run a marathon. It'd be fucking crazy. It would, if I ran a marathon. And also, because I'm so sunlight sensitive and the sun's so bad for my eyes, I would have to run it blindfolded. So I was like, okay, let's see it.
That's scary when you say it, you know, because
it's terrifying.
I trip when I run, and you know what I mean? Like, I fall all the time.
And I go, I don't know how this is going to work out, but let's commit to it. And I committed to losing that weight. So I thought, well, if I commit to that, I could commit to something else, I think. And I started training for the Chicago Full Marathon, which was on October 10th, 2010. And I thought that was also a good gimmicky thing that people might like. Of the 10-10-10.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I got the idea from my other marathons. But I ran 2 half marathons leading up to the full as practice to see what it was going to be like being blindfolded, because I did all my training on a treadmill. And I raised money and awareness, and I thought, ooh, I got on TV and I got on a radio show and a newspaper. I got in the newspaper in Chicago. So I thought, ooh, that worked out pretty well. And after I finished that full, I never thought I would run ever again, because it was so beyond what I thought I was capable of. But because of the cause and the attention I got during that one, I thought, well, what if I did 12 marathons in 12 months? Maybe I'll get 12 times the donations and 12 times the attention.
Wow.
That was my thought. And then I thought the gimmick thing, the 10-10-10, would work with 2012. I'll do 12 and 12 in 12 states in 12 months, 12, 12, 12. I thought maybe people would write about that. And I was right. I got a lot of attention, and I surpassed my fundraising goal. I made over $150,000.
That's incredible.
In that year. And I ran all these marathons blindfolded, except for the last one was at night in Las Vegas. Most of it was at night. So at mile 7, I took my blindfold off and ran the rest of it without a blindfold. And that was such a great feeling.
You probably were like good the whole rest of the time. You're like, I could run out like 3 of these.
It felt really freeing. It really felt freeing, because when you're blindfolded running all these things, it's hard. It's just...
Yeah, do you change the way you like take steps when you run? Like,
yeah,
how do you adjust?
There was an evolution of how I did it. From the very first time I ran a half, was I just put my hand on my cousin's shoulder and we ran like that. But that was no good, because I would get tired and I'd hold on. I'd lean on
You
him.
lean on him.
And he ended up getting more tired. And that was not a good one. Then I tried holding on to my guide's forearm. And that was okay, but I didn't love it. And I felt it was awkward.
It's awkward. Yeah.
And then we tried holding something, like a piece of cloth or something. That was the best one.
Okay.
Because we both had some wiggle room. It's still we both felt independent of each other, but still connected. And if I had to, or if I was in danger, that person could just do a little tug or something, or and get me out of danger. So we did that. So for most of them, I was able to do it that way. But it's hard because some of them are really loud, like these really big rock and roll marathons in Chicago or in Seattle or wherever, Las Vegas. They get really loud. And they just give everybody noisemakers and stuff, and I'm trying to listen for my guide, and it would be overwhelming because I'd be so tired at a certain point. I'd be so tired because I don't consider myself an athlete, so every marathon was a bit of a struggle for me. I'm not a fast runner, and so it would get really overwhelming, and sometimes I'd just break down crying towards the end of some of these runs. One race in, where was it? It was Idaho or something. I don't remember. But I crossed the finish line just bawling. But I was lucky I was able to get a documentary made about that year, thanks to Ryan Suffren. Ryan is married to Kim Garr from King 10 from our improv theater. He's a director and an editor, and for free just put together. I was able to.
I didn't know that. I want to watch that.
Yeah, it's on iTunes. It's on digital copies are on iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play, and it's called Running Blind, and it's 30 minutes, and for $2 or $3 you could rent it or buy it. And it cost us a lot of money to get it made, like to get the footage and stuff like that. So it was so nice for Ryan to edit it for free. And he really did a lot. And we got it in some festivals and stuff like that, but we've never been able to make that money back from it. So if you go and rent it or buy it, that will help.
That will help very much.
Yeah.
Was it helpful to do something? Do you do things blind often, or close your eyes to get used to one day, or are you kind of I'm gonna have to deal with that when it happens? I want to see all I can see.
I don't really need to. I did that when I was cane training. When I was training for my cane, I had what's called mobility training. So the person that was helping me, there was a couple of lessons where I would be blindfolded, but that's about it. I don't need to be blindfolded. I have problems seeing enough than to make myself blindfolded. It'd be nice if I don't ever have to deal with being totally blind. Hopefully there'll be more steps.
I was going to ask, will it be, do they know for sure that will happen, or sometimes people, it just gets worse and worse, but they live a full life where they don't?
I don't think so. I think it's always total blindness. That varies on when it happens.
But they don't know the age. Okay.
My grandfather went totally blind in his 40s. I'm 40. I'll be 42 in a couple weeks. And I'm at between 5 and 10% probably now. But so I don't know. I just
Would you get a dog?
Oh,
actually, you're getting puppies, right?
I'm getting puppies, but I use my first dog. His name's Banner. I use him as a service dog now. He's a qualified service dog, so he's actually helpful in those situations where it's too bright or too dark, or if it's really crowded or something. I've used him to get around like that. But he wasn't meant to be a service dog when we got him. We got him at 8 weeks old, and he's a yellow Labrador, which is what I wanted because, one, Deborah grew up with one, and two, I knew most seeing eye dogs are like labs for the most part. And so I knew they'd be good to train. And he's been so good. He's the best dog in the world.
How old is he now?
3.5.
And so you're getting 2 more puppies?
And I'm getting 2 more from Puerto Rico, rescues.
Oh, you're rescuing them. What kind of dogs do you know?
They're lab mixes.
Oh, wow.
What they told me.
It's a 3-dog household.
3-dog household. I'm excited about it. I get them in, let's see, 33 hours?
Yeah, on Sunday.
Something like that? Yeah, Sunday, like at midnight.
Oh, wow.
So I'm nervous for them because they have to fly in cargo from Puerto Rico, which is sad.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. But they're super cute. I hear they're well behaved. I hope they are.
How old are they?
They're about 6 months.
Okay.
The story goes a homeless man had them and was not treating them well. The female was very malnourished.
Mm-hmm.
So now a foster family and a Puerto Rican rescue took them in, and one dog stayed with the foster, and the other one was getting her health better in the rescue's care. But now they're gonna be with me.
That's exciting.
I can't wait. And I think that to add on to the question of like, what has it done to you? I think doing all this fundraising has made me a more empathetic person. Like I just want to help people more and more, you know? So I can't, every time I
mean, you were always a nice guy. You were never known as a dick at I.O.
Thank you. But,
but no, I get what you mean.
There's probably a handful of people that would say I was a dick. But it depends. It depends. I have my bad moments. You catch me on a bad day or something. It's like, man, you just a dick. But mostly I try to be a nice guy, you know. Life's too short to be a dick all the time. So I try to be like a nicer person and more empathetic. So like when I see the stuff in Puerto Rico right now, just the people, they're drinking toxic water.
Toxic water, I know.
They wanted people who are on dialysis to get picked up to bring to the States so they can get their treatments, and nobody picked them up, and they died. And just, you know, the death toll there is 450 now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's going to keep going up.
It's going to keep going up.
Going into the thousands. And it's just heartbreaking, and I'm so mad at fucking Donald Trump and that whole administration, and I'm ashamed of all of them.
I'm ashamed. I'm mad, but it's funny you say the word ashamed. I'm just like, I feel so. It makes me feel useless, and it's
me too.
And you know, it's even like so don't have money right now. Like I'm not broke, but it's like money's very tight right now, and it's been like, and I've been thinking that like, I was actually watching Ellen, and Bethany Frankel was on, and so a lot of people don't know Bethany Frankel. Like she
was on The Apprentice.
But she was kind of like, fuck this. I'm going to hire planes. And so she started hiring private planes and putting supplies on them and then flying into Puerto Rico. And then she's been flying people that need medical services
that's great.
Back to New York so they can get the medical care. And so it's really become like...
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. A big passion for her. And she said on the show, and I know you know this, but I heard it. She was like, I know even if you're broke, but even if you can give like $1 or $5. And that... What helped me feel a little helpless is that I don't have a lot of money right now, and if you don't either, if you're listening, like once a week I'm like, I'm just giving $5. Yeah. It's at least $5.
Absolutely.
If 100,000 people gives $5 in a week, that's $500,000.
At this point, Puerto Rico is becoming like a third world country where Sally Struthers is like, for $1 a day, you can feed this person. It's like that.
It's becoming that.
And
I feel so bad for them in that I don't want them to think that on the continental United States, we don't think that they are Americans, that they are not a part of our country, because that is not the way I feel. That's how a lot of people here do not feel that way.
There's probably millions.
Oh, I'm from Oklahoma. I know that there's people.
And Long Island's conservative too.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people. Well, and a lot of like in Long Island, New York, a lot of them have, because so many Puerto Ricans immigrated there. They have a lot of. It's not an accepting mindset,
My family voted for Trump.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about like, this is really gay, but when you think about like West Side Story, like that came out of fact. It wasn't just fiction so everything goes back to musical theater. Sorry.
I agree. I agree.
I keep trying to win that damn Hamilton lottery every day. I'm trying.
I saw
Oh, you did?
Hamilton.
How was it?
I didn't see it in L.A. I saw it in New York, but not, not with Lynn.
Worth the hype?
It's great. It's great. It's a great show. And I wish, was it worth like $1,000?
I just can't spend that money on a musical
crazy.
about capitalism.
Don't do it.
Like even if I had, it's like a principle thing.
Here's
for me.
what's good about Hamilton. Because it's so successful, it'll be around in 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you could go for like $200. You know what I mean? In 10 years.
And I don't think it's going to be like
patient.
Rent. It's not going to be like Rent where you see Rent now and you're like, oh, that's good. But you kind of needed to see that like in the 90s or whenever it came out because it was like, it's like a period piece almost where I don't think.
Well, it was a comment on the Times.
Yeah, it was.
Whereas Hamilton's a comment from 200 years ago.
Yeah, so you can still, like Chorus Line, I remember going, like Chorus Line, it's not, you got to see it in the 70s. Like you can't modernize.
By the way,
it.
Rent is touring. I just saw a 20-year anniversary tour they're doing.
Oh, wow. That makes me
I never
fun.
saw it. So
It's okay.
I'm thinking of trying to see it.
It's got catchy songs. I was just talking about this with my friend Jake, who I do other podcasts. I say his name because people know him because we do other podcasts together. But it has catchy tunes, but a lot of it became, is it immortalized? There's a word that, maybe that's it, when someone like because the creator died the opening night of Rent.
Oh, God.
Jonathan, I forgot his name. He wrote this show and everything.
He died.
He literally, nobody knew. He had like
AIDS?
a no, it was like a rare, was it like a heart thing or whatever? I know a lot of my listeners are yelling at the screen right now. I kind of blocked out Rent because my first boyfriend was like obsessed with it.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you. You're yelling. We can't hear you.
This is airing. This was recorded days before you're yelling.
Oh, I don't even know. But yeah, he died. He died of something. But he died on opening night. So everybody was like, "We've got to go see this show from this person who died opening night." So I think it made it. Honestly, it got revered more than it probably should have.
Okay.
I don't think it's a bad show though.
Okay.
It's got good music. It's just when you go into it, think of it like when Chorus Line came out. Oh, people saw this in like the 80s or late 70s.
Right.
This was huge then. So this came out like when people still weren't talking about AIDS and things like that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll go see it. I mean, if I'm able to. I like going to see stuff that I'm like, I don't know if I'll jive with it, but I think it'd be educational for me to see anyway. You know what I mean?
Do you like musicals? Is Deborah into musicals? Or like, did one of you drag each other? Are you both kind of like, yeah?
Does she like musicals? She's a theater person. She did theater for a bunch of years in college and stuff like that. But I like going to theater a lot.
I do too.
Musical. I'll go to musicals, but mostly I like plays and stuff.
A lot of musicals are bad, like the new ones. Right. I think I like Rodgers and Hammer. I'm more old
Dear
school.
Evan Hansen I saw.
Was it good?
So good. That was fantastic. And maybe it resonated with me because I was bullied in school and stuff like that, and I was.
Is that what it's about? I don't.
And depression and suicide and.
Oh wow! I would.
Yeah.
I would. I was about to say I would like that, but that sounded.
Yeah.
But I used to volunteer for a suicide helpline and stuff, so that's all interesting to me.
Yeah.
So.
You can listen to the soundtrack.
I know. I don't want to see it. I should just listen to it. But it also changed a lot of. Sorry, I swear we're not even going to do the advice question, whatever, because I don't want the show to go long.
What's the advice?
It was okay. I'll read it, but it's a short one. But what was I going to say? Oh, shows change too on the cast because I've never been a fan of Spring Awakening because Spring Awakening's about like a town in Europe. Is it in Poland or it's supposed to take place in like the 1800s and it's about like a girl gets raped and it's about like it's like teenage angst, but like they wanted to make it like The Breakfast Club in the 1880s.
Okay.
But like seeing it with adult actors with like Lea Michele and people, it just like they sang good, but you're kind of like it just seems so dramatic. Like, come on, and I'm not saying rape is dramatic. That's
pretty dramatic.
It is pretty dramatic. But the other things that happen, you're like, I mean, there is a thing like about suicide and stuff. It's okay, but it just seems like it's hitting you over the head with it. However, my goddaughter goes to the Pacific Palisades High School, which is an amazing charter school. It's like where they film the scenes from Modern Family, so it's this beautiful high school. Mm-hmm. But they had this crazy, they were doing a high school production of Spring Awakening. I was like, okay, I'll go see it. Expecting it to be like a High School Musical production. Yeah. Literally, all the girls were better than like Lea Michele. like could
Really?
sing better.
Wow.
Like, and all the
it's
guys were like, bro, because it's Palisades and it's LA. It was incredible. And seeing high school kids talk about high school issues, I like sobbed. It was like so real because that's the way you are when you're in high school and so it'll be interesting. So
how was it for you in Oklahoma in high school? Was it really difficult?
High school was good because high school I realized I could be funny.
Okay.
Middle school, late elementary, hard. It was better the fact that my brother, who I'm close with, is 3 years older than me, and he's like, you remind me a lot of him actually, in that he's just like all around good guy, really funny. He did sports and stuff, but he also did theater. Like he just was super chill, really funny. He would, everybody called him Bubba. He's like, and we're still close to this day. That was helpful because he protected me.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff, like when I got bullied and called a faggot and all that kind of stuff, I didn't tell him. Or I didn't tell my father, because even like my growing up as a littler kid, this is when I came out. This is what my brother felt so horrible about, is that I was very effeminate, and so he would, as an older brother, he would tease me relentlessly about being effeminate. And even my dad would say things like, but I remember I would stand kind of like, I'd pop my hand on one hip and like kind of hold my hand, and you can't see, but I like a limp-wristed kid. And my dad would all the time say, Matt, put your goddamn wrist down. Like that's what he would say all the time. And even though he was yelling at me, I don't know why, but there was a voice in my head that didn't take it personal. Like I knew my dad was, I think because my dad told me he loved me and was like very affectionate with me because he didn't have a father. So he kind of went the exact opposite. I want my kids to know that they have a dad who gives a shit about them. I didn't feel like I was being bullied by my dad. I knew he was trying to protect me because I knew he loved me and told me other things like, I want you to be whatever you want to be and all that. But it was harder with my brother because I idolized him. And so he was all into sports and stuff, and I tried and I couldn't be like my brother, and I wanted to be. So that was hard when I came out, just because, he was nauseous for like 4 days. He felt so horrible, and I tried to tell him, like, for treating me that way. So
well, that's good. That's actually good that he felt.
It's a normal, yeah. So
when did you come out?
We're very close. I came out not until I was 19 in college.
19 in college.
Yeah, so I came out. Me and my friend at the time, like, we started dating. Like, we hooked up in his dorm room. He was an RA, and so we,
trouble.
Yeah, but we moved in as friends. We weren't dating it, but then we started dating. So then we stopped dating because we were living together, and I was 19 living together with someone, and I realized I'm way too young to do this right now. I don't want to do this right now. So, that was still in North Texas. So that was hard. It's interesting.
Jeez, you came.
We're totally not going to get to the question right now, but
the worst places. How'd your parents take it?
They were. My mother cried because she said you'd be such a good father. Because you got to realize, but you got to realize, I went to college. I graduated high school in '97. I didn't go to college until '97. I graduated in 2002. Will and Grace did not come out until 1998, or was it '97? Queer as Folk came out. I think I remember like. I had a couple of other gay friends, and they said, come watch Queer as Folk, because that one person had Showtime. And I remember seeing, like, two people have sex the way I would see straight people have sex on Showtime, and my mouth dropping. Yeah. Just being shocked.
Yeah.
So my dad, I told my mom, I told my sister-in-law first, and then she's not a good liar. And my brother, one day, they were like with some friends, and somebody's like, do you think Matt's gay? And he's like, no, he tells me he's not, I don't think he is. And then he looked at my sister-in-law and just said, you don't think he's gay, do you? And she like tried the best, but she just wasn't expecting that. And she totally like kind of broke down and was and my brother. So that was a thing. But then I told my mom about 6 months later. She cried, but she was cool with it. And like, I love you. And then my dad, I told like, a year and a half later, because it was scary because my father paid for my college.
So your mom didn't tell.
They were divorced.
Oh, they were divorced.
And they hated each other at the time. Now they get along, but like it was like, so it was easy to keep that separate.
I see.
But my dad, I told him, and like it's interesting how I always say be careful what you wish for, because it does get better. In that my dad wouldn't even let me say the word I'm gay. He's like, I don't want you to say it, don't say it. And like he cried. cut to now.
He cried?
Oh yeah, totally.
What a wimp.
Yeah. And cut to now, he like obviously he loves me. He loves my boyfriend. He's like, when am I going to get a little Matthew? I want you. He's like, I don't want you to. He says, I don't want you to fetch a baby. I want a little Matthew. Looks like you and Kyle. I'm like, Dad, like, what you guys? You like, so like he's all in, and he's like,
that's nice.
He's like, are you a topping? Or are you the bottomer? And I'm like, whoa, Dad. Oh, my family talks about everything. Like
that's interesting.
So it's like, be careful what you wish for.
Because they're conservative. You said your mom is.
My mom is more. My dad is more kind of just anti like government. I mean, he said before, he's like, I think he'll like, they're all sons of bitches. I think Obama was probably the best of them.
Oh,
like,
okay.
So
he
doesn't vote.
He's a closeted Democrat.
He's pissed because he said the Democrat, and I get it. Like, you know, my town, I grew up in Oklahoma. There's a tire plant. That is, when the election was going on, it was a Michelin tire plant, and the workers in Oklahoma were literally building machines that they were going to send to Mexico to do their job. Mm. So when Trump talked about all that, man, he hit right there. And my dad said, he's like, all these self-employed people that we save our income tax to, like, you know, buy braces for your kid or buy tires for your car, but we can't afford the health insurance every month because my dad's a plumber. So there's a lot of people that are individual contractors, and then the government. They weren't getting the right information, so then the government is taking part of their tax refund as a fine for not paying for health insurance. Man, they really feel like this Democratic Party that was supposed to be for the people has fucked them over. And then Christianity and what that is, evangelicalism has done to like politics and that. Because I remember, like my family, like in Reagan and stuff like that, but I remember that the Republican Party wasn't so about Christianity as well. It was way different. I mean, it's just a change. And so, but when my father, he hasn't voted since Bush Gore, because he said, why would I vote when the election's rigged and my vote doesn't matter anyway? Which you can argue with that after seeing it again. So
in Oklahoma,
that's his perspective. I'm still very close with. I'm very lucky. There's only like kind of one cousin, like distant, and we just recently kind of had a falling out on Facebook. Because she just posted something that was she meant it in like, Jesus loves them, let's not let kids be trans, and with like really false information. And I kind of calmly said, hey, this is what you're saying, like Snopes proved it wrong, this is a hate group by the Southern Lottery Power Center, hey, this is what I do, I'm more than willing to have a conversation. And like, totally like deleted my comment, and then that pissed me off, and I was like, you're not really a Christian, you're a big fucking hypocrite, and if there was a hell, your kind of hate would go there. And that kind of ended that. So, because I got really, you know, I'm counseling like suicidal trans youth that are suicidal because their parents' religion is telling them. You know, there was an episode of Will and Grace, which I'm so glad it's back. I love that show. Yeah. But they just did an episode about like where Jack McFarlane, like his son, he finds out he has a grandkid, and then he's found out his grandkid, his son, he had an illegitimate son because he was a sperm donor. His son moved to Texas, and now they're sending Jack's grandson, who's very gay, to like a conversion camp. And so everything works out in the episode, and Sean Hayes he's such a funny guy, such a good character actor, and he was hilarious. And very touching, but I had a friend who sent me a message on Facebook and said, she would kind of say, do you know of anybody who went to those conversion camps? Kind of like, surely that's not a thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've counseled them.
Talk to Mike Pence about it.
Yeah, I've had friends that did that. Oh yeah, they totally like threw some stuff at Pence in there. It had like, what's the guy that was in Book of Mormon? Andrew Reynolds.
Yeah.
Andrew Reynolds and Jane, lesbian from Glee, Jane Lynch. Jane Lynch. They played a couple that were married now, and they were like singing songs. It was very, 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 very funny. It was a very funny episode. But
yeah, it must have been the most recent one because I didn't. See
it was good. Yeah, I don't want to give you the whole episode. It was interesting though. You talked about it was hard coming out in North Texas because this was still Texas in 1998, 99, 2001, and so like. It was interesting. I was a music major. I studied opera, classical music. And North Texas is like the second largest music school in the world. Like, and or in the country for sure. Like we had, I think, like 2,000 voice majors in the College of Music within the university was like 9,000 people. Like Nora Jones was in my music theory class.
Whoa!
Like she sat behind, and like there's other famous bands, but like like some of the members of the Eagles, because the North Texas Eagles, they were from there. Roy Orbison, David Letterman's band leader, the bald guy,
Paul Schaefer,
he's New York, Texas. So huge, incredible. Harry Connick went there for a little bit. Huge, incredible music school. Had the first jazz program in the world. Like people, I had college roommates that have already, and even in college, won Grammys then. So like on another level.
Yeah.
So it was super competitive. So you would think though there would be this kind of like, it's a music school, but at least in where I was, it was still Texas. No one was really out at all in the, like, at least in like my choir, in like the kind of 100 to 200 people that I kind of knew in music school. There was one guy who was like, I didn't relate to him at all because he was from El Paso. He was Latino, like, and I grew up with this coming from very white Oklahoma, and he would like did drag, which was something I didn't relate to at all. Cut to now, like I have a closet with like, it's not pretty drag, it's like funny drag, but still, I do love a good wig, yeah. But it was just not, people didn't talk about that, and it was so steeped still in like either faith, or it was almost too like there was. I was just talking about this with a couple of girlfriends, two of my best friends from college, because we were talking about the Me Too campaign, and how that kind of just. I told them, I said, I knew that this was prevalent, but like seeing like my aunts, my cousins, like all these women in my life that are saying Me Too, I'm just like pissed off. Like I knew this, but I didn't experience it. I didn't realize it was so close. And like, talking to my college. One of the girls called me. She said, I realized how much this affected all of us. And I said, what do you mean? She said, this like sexism and harassment fueled, because she was a pretty girl, the other girl was a pretty girl. And I'm not going to tell the whole story because that's their story to tell, and I want to do my podcast. But basically what it is to be a pretty girl and music major, and how they were used to, like, when we would go to choir tours, how they were the ones that were pushed on to go talk to the guys. And how, like, obviously, like my guy who was my voice teacher was very like, it's almost he tried to be hyper masculine. I don't know, maybe he was gay, I don't know, but he wanted to be like hyper masculine, and always like he would say things literally to girls, like they would sing it. He'd be like, come on, get your speakers up. And that was his way of saying getting their chest up, but literally talking about their breasts. Like, so, but as for me as a gay student, it was like, oh fuck. For me, I realized he would always like, one of my friends says, because I love my friends like joke and say, oh, you're like a gay white Oprah, which I don't want to be Oprah. But I do love talking about heart and things of like that inspire people, but in a funny way. But one of my friends says, sometimes you always go in for a dick joke, Matt. You don't have to start with a dick joke. And
you should end with it. Yeah,
you should end with it. But I just realized, I think one of the reasons I did that is because I was a joke in college because I was gay, because there was this like harassment of women already, and that affected me. Because when you're gay and you're effeminate, it is a lot. So a lot of times people don't care that you're gay. It's that you get bullied and ridiculed because you're effeminate, and so it like, and you can't. It's not something I can change. I'm not fucking Meryl Streep. I can't act butch, like, and that's fine. But it definitely affected that. I think it made me. I became one of those people of. Like where fat people say they always try to be funny so that way nobody makes fun of them. Yeah. I would do that where I would be super gay or like super funny, or like even make a joke about me being gay before I even like walked right into a room, so that way they would know it's okay for them to like laugh at me. Right. And this all just came about this week. And so I think it's beautiful that this Me Too thing, and I'm not trying to draw the focus to me because it's about these women being harassed. And though at the same time, it's about everybody. It affects everyone.
Right. The message is there's a problem.
Yeah, and it's systemic.
And it's mostly men.
Yeah, it's mostly men. Yeah, but it affects straight men too. In that,
right? Well, and it affects.
I'm sure it's affected you.
Gay men harassing and assaulting men. Other men.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had too much stuff.
Well, just at the beginning of the show when I complimented you on the wrong color of your eyes. Yeah, there was that. There was. But like, do you feel like though, you?
If there's probably stuff that's happened to me. Actually, there's stuff that's happened and it doesn't even I don't even think about it. Like I either forgot about it or
I've like stuff like that too, where I didn't think. I mean, I thought about college, but like as far as being in LA and that, what people, I kind of feel like it's nothing like what my pretty girlfriends have had to deal with. So it's like I don't even.
Well, I was telling, I did a podcast earlier, and I was telling my guest, we were talking about the Me Too thing, and I was going, I wasn't that surprised by how many women spoke up, because I've had lots of women tell me, confide in me about their assaults or harassment or whatever. And like at a certain point, you go, fuck, this is a lot of people.
It's a lot. When I'm sure your girlfriend's very pretty as an actress, I'm sure she's had to deal. I mean, it's sad now that I realize, I need to assume every female I know has dealt with it. And
I've been starting to talk to females about that stuff here and there, and they say the same thing. It's like, you're a female, that's what comes with the territory.
Yeah, when I ask them, their response is not like, if somebody asked me, Matt, have you been sexually harassed? I'll probably be like, yeah. They're like, oh yeah, can you pass me the salad? Yeah. And I'm like, wow.
And then the next question is, I go, what did I do? Have I offended anybody?
No, it's making men do that, which is a good thing.
Yeah. And, when I was a kid, I was, in the effort to be funny or something, I'm sure I've done
honestly, stuff. I know I have. I don't even know, but I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
Because I've never, groped anyone or done anything, horrible. But I know I probably said something or I've made a joke.
Yeah.
That kills me a little bit, because I know, as you know from bullying, people say things that they're not thinking about, but you're still thinking about it 20 years later. Yeah. And that fucking sucks.
Charlene Yee came out. You saw that thing? She came out with a Twitter post about David Cross. Now, David Cross
I didn't see that.
Made fun of her, made an Asian joke towards her when they first met. And he's like, whoa, wait a second, I don't remember this. And but I believe it, but 10 years ago, she's still thinking about it.
Yeah.
And that it made her cry. And
wow. The words matter, man.
Yeah. So we do affect each other, and that's why I'm just trying to grow as a person and become more empathetic. I had a friend the other day tell me, people are too sensitive. A white guy, a white straight guy, who's never done therapy. He's like, people are too sensitive, and in my head, I'm going, maybe you're not sensitive enough.
Yeah.
Maybe. I also think we're in an age right now where people are finding their voice, and we're trying to find that balance. And I think in 10, 20 years, certain things that are going on now will still be around, but some of it will kind of fall off. We're just trying to figure out where our places are.
I think empathy is becoming important to people. People always say, but because we're having the lack of empathy now in our government, and it's so...
Trump brought back lack of empathy.
He brought back to the 100th degree, and that's honestly for me is probably is my biggest problem with him. It's not. It's that's and I feel like that that's what baffles me about because I thought, he's talking about grabbing women's pussies. Like, my mother is not going to vote for that. She talks about being a feminist. Yeah. These women I know, and then they did. These people that post pictures of, crosses and talk about Christian love and all that kind of stuff, surely they're not going to vote for this guy.
They did.
And they did. And I'm like, where's the empathy? And I think it's a backlash is coming now where people are going to be pressured to have empathy, and that's actually I think a good thing.
Well, he made fun of a disabled reporter.
Yeah,
and
he just talked about joking about hanging gay people this week.
Yep, there's 5 handicapped people in my family.
Oh my God!
There's me and my brother, my 2 nephews, and my grandfather who passed.
And
they all none of us voted for Trump. I didn't vote. My brother, I'd be surprised if he voted at all. And my nephews can't vote, and my grandfather's dead. But I'm going. He just made fun of basically your father, your sons. Why would you do that? And I think people compartmentalize.
Or maybe they feel like they don't have the. I don't know. Is it privilege that I wouldn't vote for somebody because? I don't know. Maybe they feel like they don't have the option Because they feel like their economic situation or whatever, something is being so affected detrimentally that they have to just put that aside and vote for this person because they believe that person's going to do that for them. Maybe I don't know.
But also, if Trump made fun of a blind reporter or a blind person, I think it would have been a different thing. But for some reason, they couldn't put a blind person in their imagination of being like, well, if it was my son or my brother or my whatever, that's unacceptable, and so you cannot have my vote. For some reason, him making fun of this guy that was born with a genetic physical thing is okay, and the women thing, almost all the women in my family voted for him. I don't know. Maybe it's the same thing of like why women don't speak up. It's like, well, it's just how it is.
It's just how it is, yeah.
It's just an accepted thing of like, well, yeah, Trump grabs women by the pussies, and yeah, I've been grabbed by the pussy, and it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Might be one, I don't know.
The oppressed get so oppressed, they just oppress one another in a lot of ways.
It's very sad. And it's affected my relationship with my family. The secrecy, my brother's an alcoholic, and he's having a hard time staying sober. And the enabling that they've done with my brother, most of my parents, just how it's all been.
He still lives there with them?
He's on Long Island. He's in the Queens, closer to Queens.
Do you and your brother talk about, like...
No, I haven't talked to him in over a year.
That's so sad to me that you have somebody in your life who's going through the exact same thing you're going through.
Yeah.
And you can't talk about it. That's heartbreaking.
I had to do some tough love thing mostly for myself.
No, yeah, you got to...
I'm doing like Al-Anon. I didn't just do it.
Al-Anon's a wonderful.
Yeah, I didn't do it just. Did you go to Al-Anon?
I did for a bit. Yeah, I had a friend that was dealing with some alcoholic stuff, and he kind of hit a low, and I just I was so fixated on fixing him, and like how can I? Because I'm that person. I'm that person that does.
I want to fix, and then you can't.
Yeah, Al-Anon was very helpful.
You have to let go so that they can try to fix themselves too, and you fix and take care of yourself. Yeah. So I didn't do it just out of nowhere and because I'm just like annoyed or something. I did it thoughtfully, and I have a sponsor and stuff like that. Al-Anon sponsor that I'm working with, and I do therapy every week, and but the Trump stuff was like the last straw. It was like the last straw. It was too much to be around. All just these multi-layers of issues that it's just too much. It's
my boyfriend just recently. He came out to his family this year, and we've been together for 3 years. He's 33.
Wow, he just came out.
Well, he's black. He's from the South. It's a different thing when you're black. It's a very different thing.
He came out as black, too. Oh, my God. That's a double.
Nobody knew. But I told him, and, I said, like, this is going to sound horrible, but there's something, I don't know, the word that comes to my mind is beautiful, is that, and I didn't have to do this, but realizing at a young age that I could live my life and be happy without my family in it, because I had to think about if my family disowned me, because I had many friends, and still, not as much, but still at the time, when I was 19, 20 years ago, I'm 38, that their families did disown them, and they didn't speak to them for years and years and years, some of them 10 years. And so, but when you have to make that choice of your family of origin versus your family of choice. Yeah. And so, but it's been freeing.
I've talked a lot about that.
It's freeing though for me to know now that like I love my family and I get along with them, but it's kind of like, not that I'd be like, fuck you family, but to know that like, if I'm not just with my family, but with anybody, no matter how much I love them, if our relationship is dysfunctional, if our relationship is toxic, if it's literally inhibiting me or affecting many or most of the quality of my life, that the most loving thing I can do for them and for me is to step out of that, to build my own autonomy. Yeah. And a lot of straight people don't have to deal with that about things because but I see them. They feel so latched on to this toxicity of their family. So I hate that I hear that from you, but it also makes me happy that you've had to go through that, because to find kind of and cultivate your own happiness in your own family, whatever it is.
They have a codependency relationship.
Yes, yeah.
My brother and my parents, and my parents haven't quite figured out.
Yeah, your parents probably need to go to Al-Anon.
My dad does sometimes, and my mom's gone, but they don't have sponsors, and they've taken long breaks from it, and in their mind, your son's in trouble. You do everything for them, even though it gets in the way of their of them getting sober, which is proven now because he can't. He's been trying to stay sober for a couple of years, and he can't do it. He lost his wife. She's divorcing him. So it's it's a thing. It's a thing. It's really hard to be around all that stuff right now.
No, it's heavy.
It's very heavy.
No, I'm glad that, again, though, it's beautiful, the fact that you're able to, like...
And that's why I'm getting these dogs. Because I'm like, I want to expand my family and helping these Puerto Rican dogs that I feel so bad for. Everybody in Puerto Rico right now, not just dogs, but...
I imagine that's like, one reason why you love your podcast as well, and that, like... Because you don't get to have... I mean, some of us... You don't get to have some of these conversations with the people that are supposed to be the closest in your life.
That's 100%.
So you're able to do this show, and like it kind of fulfills that.
And I don't have to feel like I'm hiding something or stepping, on eggshells or something. But no, it's true. I can see that for sure.
Do you feel like, because you've been dating Deborah for a long time now, right?
Almost 10 years.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Wow. How did y'all meet, by the way?
Match.com.
Oh, look at you.
And that's another thing. You met on Match.com?
No, not Match. No.
Match.com, and I was on there for a year and a half. And in the beginning, attached to my blindness thing, I didn't put that I was going blind on my profile. But then it would come up on a date, and it got really awkward. So then I started putting it. I put everything on my profile. Just everything about me. Here's what choroideremia is. Here's who has it in my family. Here's what it means. Blah, blah, blah. Put it all out there. It probably affected me getting some dates, but it was no longer a surprise. Now it was like, so tell me more about this. It was more, they were more open to it. I told my mom that I put it on my profile, and she thought I should take it off.
Well, white people, we don't like to... Waspy people, we like to bury that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Sweep it under the rug. Get another rug.
And obviously that didn't matter, so...
No, and Deborah was fine.
So are you close with her family?
I'm pretty close with her family, yeah. Pretty close. Her dad voted for Trump, and that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But, pretty...
Is she from East Coast, too?
She's from Brooklyn.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Born and raised Brooklyn.
It's just, the Trump thing is so interesting. And when you still have a lot of improv friends out here, right? I mean, you're friends with so many people.
Oh, yeah, lots.
So.
And a lot of Chicago people I know moved out here, too. People I knew in Chicago. It's too cold. I loved Chicago, though.
I love that city. I was going to move there. It was like 2 weeks before I was going to move to Chicago. I decided to switch and come to LA. So.
Why?
So I was a very big, I still am, Shania Twain fan, and who finally just this year, Wonder Woman and Shania Twain finally brought it 2017.
Put them both in the kitchen,
which was good. Yeah, both, because it was otherwise kind of a shit year. So at least I had these two things.
How's she doing? Did she have some health issues?
She developed Lyme disease.
Lyme disease.
I mean, she's from Canada, and so so she got bit by a tick and developed Lyme disease and couldn't sing. She thought it was a mind thing. She thought it was because her husband was Mutt Lange. He was this huge, one of the most prolific music producers ever, like Aerosmith, AC/DC, like basically 50% of the music you listened to in the 80s and the early 90s was produced by her husband. So he kind of plucked her out of like Nashville and made her
huge.
Shania Twain, and they wrote everything together. They did everything together. Like it was just talk about codependency.
Yeah, right.
Then he cheated on her with their nanny, who was her best friend.
Oh God.
And so like she was devastated. Although now she's married to the nanny's ex-husband.
Oh, that's weird.
It is weird.
It's like a soap opera.
And yeah, and what is even weird too is that Mutt Lane, they called him Mutt because he's ugly as fuck. And he's married to Shania Twain.
He's gorgeous.
Gorgeous. And the nanny, not a nice looking woman. And her husband, this beautiful like Swiss guy with like long flowing hair. So it's like they all like just switched.
Well, they figured it out.
But she never talked. Yeah, they figured it out. She never talked about it really or anything. That's why I'm so surprised. Like she's talking about it now, and it's 15 years later that she has this album called Now. That she's talking, and a lot of the songs are about the breakup with that and everything because it was so traumatic to her. But she thought that's why she couldn't sing anymore, and it wasn't. It's that she developed Lyme disease from this tick bite, and she had nerve damage, and one of the areas she had nerve damage was in her vocal cords. So she can sing now. It doesn't sound as good, I will admit. Like, and her range is smaller. And, like, maybe I notice it because I'm a vocalist. But I still like her music, and I still like a lot of the message of her music. But, so anyway, back in, like, I was teaching summer camp in Massachusetts, in, like, Western Massachusetts, teaching theater. But right before I left, like, I was on, like... There was like a Yahoo Shania Twain chat room. Like that's how old it was. This is 2002. So there was no apps or anything. So still flip phones. But there I would like go online and like this Yahoo Shania, I would have my Shania Twain fans. And like that's how we would find out like Shania news and we would talk about Shania Twain. Like I was in it. Well, one person said, they're like, oh, Matt, you should totally submit to this. And I saw it was like a Shania Twain fan competition for country music for CMT. So I submitted and like made a little video, and they called me and told me that I won. Whoa. So I won this contest where I was at camp and they had to fly me I had to fly out of Logan in Massachusetts. They flew me to Toronto and then on a little puddle jumper to her hometown in Timmins, Ontario. And I got there was a Shania Twain museum there, which was awesome. But I got to, I went to like where the McDonald's she worked at. I like served fries and met her old manager. I went to the school that she went to and I sat in her desk.
You love her.
Oh yeah, I went to her childhood home, but I knew all this information because I like would read all this shit about Shania Twain that I knew all this. So when the whole thing it was really hosting. I was planning on moving to Chicago to pursue like musical theater and then eventually like move to New York and do the theater thing. But it's interesting that people call me the Gay White Oprah, my friends do, because I've always been like watching Oprah Winfrey. That was huge for me because I remember watching, there was 2 episodes specifically. I remember watching a gay man talk about on Oprah Winfrey, and then this is like when I was in middle school, just talk about, literally Oprah did a show called, like, it was basically like, these are gay people. Like, that's what we had to have back then. Because people thought we were just, like, butt-fucking each other in slings and, like, just, like, handing out, like, drugs and AIDS. Like, that's kind of... And that was my reality. Like, growing up in Oklahoma, even though my family was supportive, and we grew up Catholic, but it wasn't... There's evangelical Catholicism, which is very Bible-focused. But then there's Catholicism that really doesn't talk about the Bible a lot. And if you're not from, like... We were in the South, so there wasn't a lot of talk about, like, sin. It was more like, love your neighbor, do good things, like, have a pizza and beer party with the Knights of Columbus. Yay! Jesus. That's kind of what my church was. It was a pretty awesome church to grow up, and we had an Irish priest who was, like, who would get drunk, and, like, he was great. Father Hanrahan. Yeah, he was Irish. And he would talk about his Irish temper, and he was humorous. And, but anyway, But growing up, though, I had friends that were buckle of the Bible Belt. So Southern Baptist, Assembly of God, Church of Christ, Are You Washed in the Blood, all that kind of stuff. And I would hear that basically, because I knew I was gay pretty young, and I knew that I was going to go to hell and be damned for eternity.
And if I'm going to go, let's go and stop.
And let's go. I might as well go with a dick in my mouth. Exactly. And so, but anyway, but I thought that, like, my reality, though, in middle school, I remember thinking, okay, so gay men grow up and become drag queens, and then they get AIDS and they die. Like, that was my reality for my life.
Yeah.
And so I watched Oprah and I saw this guy with his boyfriend talk about how one day they hope they can get married in this country, even then. And they said, but it's, you know, we want to have children. We live in a house. We have a dog. And they showed their home life. And I went, oh, that looks like me. That looks like the life I want to have for myself. And in a second, it totally changed my perspective because I saw myself in someone that I'd never seen before. So that was impactful. And then I remember there was another episode where it was an older black woman. I say older. At the time, I thought she was older. She's probably like mid-30s at the time. But she like went to a garage sale where Oprah was like selling things for charity that she had collected. And she bought a pair of Oprah's heels. And she tells a story how she felt like her life was hopeless. And she used to get in front of her mirror and stand in Oprah's shoes and say, what would Oprah say to you? And it makes me tear even now talking about it because I remember it was that lesson of like, I'll stand in Oprah's shoes until I have to. And it was like, as a therapist, I would tell clients, I still do, that they come in saying hopeless. And I say, that's fine. Use my hope for you. Take my hope, borrow it. And then when you don't need it, give it to somebody else because I believe you can get through this, even if you don't. And those two interviews are what literally got me through of like, okay, I know that I'm valued. My parents tell me I'm loved. The community around me and like the narrative in my country doesn't tell me that. But I know I can like persevere and get out and do this. So that said, I never expressed to anybody that I had any desire to do a talk show or because that's my end game in like moving to LA. And it's going to come back to Shania Twain, I promise. And so I thought, well, this is never. People are going to say, yeah, right. So, but being a singer, I was a good singer. And everybody was like, oh my God, you're such a good singer. And so I went to music school. I kind of fell back on that, even though I really didn't want to do that. And then all of a sudden, I won this Shania Twain thing, and I went to this town. And it was, oddly enough, this producer I'm still in contact with, she's a lesbian and has kids and everything. So it was cool for me to see somebody who was queer working in the business. And I remember like a couple of years I emailed her. I was like, did you know I was gay? She's like, I hoped that you were. She was like, I hoped you were going to get there, but because I was still newly out, I was just out, so I didn't talk about it a lot. But it was hosting this segment. It was a field producer, one sound guy, and a camera guy. Like a sound guy with the boom, and that was it. And it was me going around and me interviewing these people that knew Shania, and then me talking to the camera as it was my friend. And at the time, I had the wherewithal. I'd be like, okay, they want me to talk to the camera, and I thought, well, I'll just do it like Oprah does. And that's what I did. I just talked like I was talking to Oprah because I knew Oprah. Everyone a car. And yeah, I gave everyone a car at the end. And so, anyway, I did that. And 2 weeks later, I was supposed to move to Chicago.
I see.
And with my friend from college, from my undergrad. And then I had a friend I was a camp counselor with who like was moving to LA from Orange County. Her roommate bailed on her. And I thought, I really want I want to work in television. I want to be a host. That's what I want to do.
Oprah's in Chicago.
And I don't know why I thought Chicago, but I thought more television, even though Oprah was in Chicago. So I made the choice to move to LA to do TV. And then I moved out here and I was told scared shitless to do anything. I didn't really audition. I just gave a lot of hand jobs and like found myself that way. Because when you come out, it's like you go... I have a friend who says it's called developmental lag. It's an actual psychological thing. But my friend says, I feel like whenever you come out, you become 13 again. And that's kind of true. Like I was like 19, 20. I moved to LA when I was, I came out then, but I didn't date a lot or anything because nobody I knew was gay in Texas. There was no apps or anything to find people. I couldn't go out to bars because I wasn't 21. And I was like, oh God, I don't want... Even being out gay, I didn't want any of my college friends to find out that I'd fooled around with another guy. I had so much shame about it.
So you were in LA to visit?
So no, I moved to LA to like when
So you didn't finish school in Texas?
I finished school in Texas, but I was sorry.
How old were you when you finished school in Texas?
20. I did 5 years. So I started. I got 22.
23, 22, 23.
22.
You moved out here at 22.
I was gonna go. I went to Massachusetts, taught at camp. I was going to move to Chicago at like 22.
Okay.
Or 23, sorry. I spent a year in Oklahoma City, just kind of hanging out in Oklahoma City. And then went to Massachusetts, taught at summer camp, and then at 23, moved out to LA. And that's when I was kind of like trying to figure it out. And
so what do you mean by giving hand jobs? Was that literal?
Yeah. I mean, it was like I became 30. I mean, because you think about in high school, you get to like... like date girls, you get to do all that and kind of like figure it out and like have a one night stand when you're in college.
So you were just trying to date. It wasn't like a work thing.
Yeah, no. I wasn't like, I wasn't like,
it was a casting couch.
Yeah, I wasn't any of that. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I make the joke. But I was dating some, but like having a lot of sex and just having fun and kind of figuring that out. And really, I think it took me like 5 years to kind of get to a point. It sounds so silly now because people, not silly, but people are like, you're so confident in who you are, but I so was not.
Yeah, you gotta work through
then
that.
At all.
You gotta work through that.
And so, yeah, and when I did the IO, yeah.
Reach our age, I'm 42 almost, you're 38.
Yeah, I'm 38.
So, I mean, you've been around a while. So,
yeah, and then you just
mature, you get through stuff, and, I don't think I'm the same person I was 20 years ago.
I was not 10.
Yeah.
I'm not 5. That's what, so yeah, it changes.
What's
it's
the
advice question? Sorry,
what's the advice question?
Okay, so this is from Sarah, age 28.
Hi, Sarah.
Speaking of parents, Sarah says, "Dear Mattie, I really don't want to tell my mother that I'm going to my boyfriend's for Christmas. She's going to freak out. I'm a mama's girl, and I've been going home for the last 5 years. She already doesn't like my life because she said she has, quote, baggage." Wait, I have to read that again. She already doesn't like my boyfriend because she said he has baggage. He is 25 and has 2 children already. But so that's young. But Mattie, not young where I'm from, but I'm interested where Sarah's from. But Mattie, we've been together for 2 years. I feel like it's time for her to get on board with this guy. But I know once I tell her this, I'm going to get hell for the whole year until next Christmas. Is there a best way I can break it to her?
Oh, that's rough.
I mean,
it's kind of tough. I mean,
maybe she's writing this because maybe I said on the show, this is my first year to not go home for Christmas, but my parents were fine. Like,
I would like more details.
I know that's the thing about my show. There's no. I mean, I kind of feel like with you talking about your family situation, I'm like, Sarah, if you're still freaked out, like you're going through this, and I don't mean that about, but I mean
I skipped the holidays last year.
Yeah, but look at the perspective. Again. That's what I wanted to bring in. That like. That's why I love this show. I love doing this show. That's why I loved watching Oprah's Present. When you see yourself either in other people or you see other people's situation and see that they're able to get through it. Like, I mean, just listening to EJ's story, your story, and so just a perspective, not that this isn't a big problem. I don't want to minimize her problem, but saying that, what you do have a relationship with your mother. So what things are going well in your relationship with your mom? Like maybe try to get your mother maybe to focus on some of that and saying, by the way, you've built a family, like I'm close with you. I want to build that in my life with maybe my boyfriend and his family as well, who I want to be with. And maybe your mom will get that. I don't know. What do you think?
And part of me is like, well, you're 28, she is? Is that right? She's 28?
Mm-hmm. He's 25.
So 28, you're an adult. Your mom's an adult. Your mom needs to grow up a little.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, you can't live your life for your parents, so just do what you want to do.
I mean, yes, that is something that comes with age, though, a lot, doesn't it?
What?
Do you feel like? I feel like
feeling like you have to do stuff for your parents.
Feeling like you have to do stuff just for people.
I don't do that.
But for people, like, where did you have an age where you just started doing more of what you wanted to do? That didn't happen to me until like 33.
Probably for me before that. I know in high school, I had depression in high school, and I started feeling like, all right, I'm just going to say things that I want to say and make myself laugh and try to not care if other people laugh and just do what I think's funny. And so it started there. And then I went to art school, maybe starting acting school, which was early 20s, like at age 20, 21. Because my parents were not on board with that necessarily. But I've always felt different from my parents. Sometimes, we don't click sometimes because we don't have a lot in common. So I never felt like I had to do what they wanted me to do because to me it sounds crazy, a lot of it. So I've always kind of been my own person in that way. So I went home for Christmas every year for I don't know how many years, 30 something years. And then that first time of like, oh, I'm going to miss Christmas with my mom, or she's not going to take that well. And she, was sad, and she said she missed me and all that stuff. And I was like, this is what happens We're adults now, and adults are going to have their own lives. And one of these days, Sarah's going to have a family of her own. Maybe she'll marry this guy or have kids of her own. And she'll be somewhere where she's not going to make it out to Christmas at all. And so unless her mom's dying or something like that, just take care of yourself. That's my advice.
Maybe
good luck, Mom.
It's like two separate issues. Like going out for Christmas, especially if you're dating this guy and he has kids. I mean, I don't know if you've met his kids yet, but I'm assuming you have. So they probably are getting close to you. Like, pardon me. You want to, if they're younger kids, Christmas is a cool thing to be with the kids and stuff like that. But I think that's a whole other issue. I almost feel like this question's more about your writing about what do you do with your mom having baggage about your boyfriend.
Yeah.
I think that's what the question is. And so
same deal, though.
It's the same deal. So I just don't put your work on that of your mother getting over the fact that you're dealing with this guy, whether, I don't know if your parents are still together, maybe your dad can speak to her. Or
the baggage isn't so much the kids. I mean, he could be a really
there might be
great
more
guy.
than the story. I don't know. Maybe he's like
if he's a great
selling
guy,
drugs. Then that's you didn't
different.
tell us that, Sarah. Then you need to get out of there.
If he beats her, cheats, then get the fuck out. Then your mom's got a point. But if her whole argument is he has kids, a lot of people
ask your friends. That's a good. If all of your friends, Sarah, think your boyfriend's a dick, or if you used to have friends and now you don't anymore, that might be a sign your boyfriend's a dick. But if your friends are like super cool with your boyfriend and they're supportive, and it's just if your mom's like the lone voice, that's a different thing. But maybe write us again.
Bring your mom with you.
Hey,
bring
your mom to Christmas. Maybe that would solve two birds.
Yeah.
You go. I love that idea.
Yeah.
She gets to see
her.
Yeah, that's what you should do, Sarah. I'm all about that.
Final answer.
I love that. Okay.
All right, we done?
Well, we have 5 quick questions. That's what I'll ask.
Okay.
I know. We've talked so much. There's so much. These are Chatty Matty. Same questions I ask everybody 5 weeks or every week. So Chatty Matty number 1. What's your most memorable childhood smell?
Childhood smell. Oh God, I don't know these things. This is like actor studio.
It is those type of questions.
Smell, maybe bacon.
Oh, that's a good one.
Like bacon and eggs.
You said bacon. I looked at your stove wanting there to be bacon on it.
And there's bacon.
And there is bacon.
Maybe something like that. I'll say that for now.
Okay, what about Chatty number 2? What would be the name of your memoir?
I've thought about that. I've thought about actually writing a memoir, and I've thought
I'd read it.
I never picked out a definitive title for it, but it might have blind in it somewhere. Or maybe some sort of pun. I don't know. Something like that. I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
It's Running Blind. I don't know. You're running there.
Yeah, that's my documentary, Running Blind.
Oh, yeah, that's why I think of that. That's why I was like, that's a good name. Subconscious, it's in there. Okay, Chatty Matty number 3. What's the best piece of advice you wished you'd taken earlier in life?
Brush your teeth, floss, take care of your teeth. I wish I had done that. My teeth, I struggle taking care of my teeth. I had so many cavities, and I had gingivitis and receding gum line, and so I'm finally making some strides after years of trying to take better care of them. But when I was growing up, I would sleep with gum in my mouth.
Our kids, yeah, you just do that kind of
You just
they
do
look pretty.
terrible. Thank you. You just do terrible things to your teeth. So that's one. But God, I'd give myself lots of
That's
advice.
a good. Usually, people like, which is great. Say like, care less about other people, which is great. I love those kind of answers. But that's a good. No one's ever said like, take care of your fucking teeth. Like that's a good. I think a lot of
that's practical. That's practical.
Because I had cavities and stuff. Although the holes in my teeth were too small, like I was supposed to get sealants and I didn't. And then my mom cried because she was always yelling at me, and I was bright. It was a thing.
And growing up, there were a few girls that I should have asked out that I think liked me, and I didn't because I was so shy, and I had crushes on other girls that didn't like me, and I should have just fucking asked those girls out.
Although it kind of worked out.
It worked out fine, but it would have.
But still, it's not the fact being with I get that. Okay, 2 more. Chatty Matty number 4. What day would be your Groundhog Day? What day were you like, that's a fucking good day?
Live it over and over again? What day would I live? I love that movie. I just saw the musical.
Was it good?
A few months ago in New York. Yeah, it was pretty good. The movie is so good. And I love in the movie where Bill Murray goes, I was in Bermuda with this girl. We made love on the beach. We had great food. That was a pretty good day. Why can't I live that day over and over again?
That's true.
I don't know if I've had a day like that. What day would I live over and over again? Oh my gosh. Oh gosh.
I mean, you've had a lot of days.
I've had some good times too. I've had a lot of good times. My girlfriend and I have gone to Tahiti. We've spent time in Tahiti. I could stay there forever. Just every day be the same in Tahiti. That'd be okay by me.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah, just fun stuff. I guess something like that along those lines.
Okay, and last one. Chatting Mattie number 5. When are you most inspired?
When am I most inspired? I guess there's lots of different times. I get inspired by people. Part of me gets inspired in a weird way by Trump, because I'm inspired to speak out more.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, he's so negative that I feel like, well, we need extra positivity to combat the negative. You know what I mean? So that's one guy. But seeing other people do amazing things is inspiring. I'm inspired by, there's a guy on Facebook that was one of my acting teachers back in New York, and his last name is Southern. So he's a Southern guy, and he speaks out about Donald Trump on Facebook all the time. And I've seen comments by people with the same last name that are, pro-Trump and supporting Trump. And, this guy, my teacher, keeps bashing Trump, just keeps bashing him. And I know stuff like that is really hard because he is surrounded and was grown up in this environment that his family and his friends probably, and he's an older guy too, he's older and straight and white. He should have been a Trump supporter. So I love people that kind of go the right way, even though they should have gone this other way. You know what I mean?
I had a friend email me on Facebook about 2 weeks ago, kind of after the whole cousin thing and other stuff, and she said, I appreciate you so much speaking up for what you believe in.
Yeah.
That's important because I know that's so hard. And I saw it and I just started crying a little because it makes me, it's hard when you're speaking up about something that and I'm not talking about politics, I'm talking about things that I know is an injustice that other people are experiencing, that I know that I need to do this. It's very hard because it comes at you so much from people that I grew up with that I feel like are my family and friends, or that are my family. It makes me feel like, wait, am I not wrong? But it almost that vitriol comes at you so much, it makes you feel bad about yourself. Almost like, am I wrong for doing this? Am I being mean?
Yeah.
Am I being a dick?
Yeah.
So it's very. So if you're listening, you have those people in your life that you see speak up, like your teacher.
Yeah.
If you haven't, send them an email. Tell those people how important it is, because it makes a difference. Because it is hard.
Even the whole Me Too thing, the people speaking out about Harvey Weinstein or the assault.
Yeah, I've tried to comment on everybody that I read and be like, "You're awesome."
That's inspiring. That's super inspiring.
Way to say that. Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel, when he
talks about his son,
came out about his son and all that stuff, incredibly inspiring. I was. We know, I don't know if you know Molly. Molly, his wife, was an IO person.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She was an iOS person, so I know Molly a little bit, and I wrote to her on Facebook. I was like, I love your husband so much. I just love him so much. I'm inspired by Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
That guy's got balls of steel. He's doing something that is so important, and that's scary to be the one person doing it and have everybody just come down on you. That's scary. And then he just keeps doing it, and now he's inspired so many other people.
It's scary that I know he's gotten death threats.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Thousands.
And he's seen them, and I'm sure.
I mean, he's been, even just as a black person.
Not even doing that, just as being a black person. Yeah, but I'm sure he's felt unsafe at times, and
And I'm not a sports guy at all, but he's my first sports hero.
Yeah.
So,
Billie Jean King for me, but he's
Billie
a second.
Jean King. When
But he's
Donald
in that league,
Trump
yeah.
called everybody sons of bitches, he called all the guys kneeling out sons of bitches, and Colin Kaepernick's mother said, "Well, I guess that makes me one proud bitch." On Twitter,
I didn't know she said that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, that's what you do. That's how
wonderful.
It's supposed to be." You know,
That's
and
wonderful.
I hate that we have to deal with Donald Trump for the next 3+ years. It's just a horrible time in the country right now. So we all have to band together and try to make it not as shitty as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
We have to fight just so much harder now, and we shouldn't have to. 2017.
There is a thing, and I'm interested. I'm trying to mull over this and see. But Katie Couric I love her podcast. She does a really great podcast, and she interviews all different types of people, like Neil deGrasse Tyson. She did one with Ina Garten, the Barefoot Contessa I love. But she, Martha Stewart, that's a great interview with Martha Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
But she, we'll say it's a name, I know we'll go. But she just interviewed Dan Savage. And so Dan Savage is talking about growing up, I think in Chicago actually, and being gay and a Catholic family and all this kind of stuff. And like, he doesn't talk politics about his dad and stuff like that. And but he's very political. It's Dan fucking Savage. I mean, so, but he said, what I do like about Dan Savage is that he tries, and I try to do it as well. I try to see, I always do try to have empathy and see another person's side, but also look at my quote unquote side and see like just where we take a temperature. And he said something that he said, I feel like liberals and conservatives throughout history always kind of use the same tactic, and we need to remember those aren't necessarily true. That he said, for conservatives, they always say, this is going to take away something we have. He said, with the women's right to vote, this is going to destroy what we have. Women they're going to not be in families. Our children will suffer, blah, blah, blah. Black integration, or it's going to affect it at a gay marriage. He's like, it's the same kind of very right, extreme view of this is going to destroy everything we have. He said, I think liberals or extreme liberals, a lot of times we want to say the narrative that this hasn't gotten any better, that it's worse than it's worse than it's ever been. And I don't know
about that.
But when he said that, I do know a lot of people, especially in California, they're like, it's never been, this is horrible. Like, we're at this, our country's never been at this type of cross point or whatever. When actually we have.
Yeah.
A lot, and it's been worse.
Yeah, Civil War.
And it's been worse, and people could do less about it. Yeah. So it was one of the, because I get a little hopeless sometimes, because I feel, I guess with what I'm seeing, I can go, and so that was a good, I don't know, I just want to offer that. We were talking about that, because I don't want to leave the show and like, we're fucked. Yeah. But, that there is, hope is the thing with
perspective.
Feathers. Yeah, perspective. But, yeah.
I mean, as long as Donald Trump doesn't get us in a nuclear war.
Then it might be better than it's ever been. Which I'm better. But anyway, so on that note, thank you so much for doing this. This is what Thanks. I knew this was going to happen. My boyfriend's like, how long do you think it'll be? I was like, probably like an hour or so. It's been a while since I've had a 2-hour Dear Mattie show.
I do 2-hour podcasts regularly.
But that is just. I love that. Thank you so much for being here. And so
thanks for having me. And once again, you can find me on Twitter. Can I plug myself?
I literally was just about to ask you, tell everybody where they can find you.
At EJ Scott, and my podcast at EJ Podcast on Twitter. I'm on Instagram at EJ Scott 1106, and you'll be able to see the puppy pictures of my new family.
And EJScott.com, is that your website?
EJScott.com is my website. I have my podcast there and other stuff. Croideremia info and pictures of my marathons, and go to runningblind.com, and for $2 or $3 please check out my documentary. You'll be glad you did. And my podcast is Scratch the Surface on iTunes and iHeartRadio. Subscribe.
Yeah. And if you don't use iHeartRadio or iTunes, you can probably use Stitcher or other whatever. Just
some of them are on YouTube.
Yeah.
But, or my website. If you go to my website, I have them all.
I think iHeart has an app even, right? Mm-hmm. Don't they? Yeah. So you can download that on your Android. App. Yeah. Just download the iHeart app, and then listen to it on your Apple. And if you listen to his show and you like that show, leave a review. Like, give it 5 stars or however they review, and actually write. If you write something, it helps the podcast be more visible. So
thank you.
Or if you're angry at us, that's fine. If you love, don't.
Shut up.
Then just shut up.
Go tweet to Donald Trump how much you love
Yeah.
and want to suck his dick.
Yeah, do that. Do that. But EJ, thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt.
And for the rest of you, thanks for sticking with us, and I will see you next week. All right, bye.
Ba-ba-ba. Thanks, Matt.
That was awesome. I'm inspired. I'm like, I love those conversations.
I'm inspired too. You want to? What's your information in case I air this? What's your?
Oh yeah, you can totally.
What's your info?
It's do you want to email it to you or
No, just your Twitters or whatever.
It's the Matt Marr is all 2 T's 2 R's. That's all my Instagram and everything. And then my website is mattmarr.tv.
And your podcast is called
Dear Mattie, Mattie, the Dear Mattie Show, like Dear Abby.
And where can that be found?
That can be found at iTunes, Stitcher, not on iHeart. I don't think.
Okay.
I've never
I don't know
read
what
through it.
Stitcher is.
It's like a really popular Android
Should
app.
I get on there? Should I?
I get some listens from that. I don't know. No, it's free. You should get on there because it's free.
Okay.
And then you should get on Google Play, not for here, but I'm finding that Google Play is used a lot internationally. Okay. And I've noticed ever since I got on Google Play, 60%, we were just talking about this at podcast, 65% of podcast is still coming from Apple. So, but Google Play is becoming, and Google Play, I think they're even starting to have, there's Google Play, there's Intunes or whatever, that's like people can do Alexa. But I really feel like the big ones are like, you have the iHeart, if you get on Google Play, get on Stitcher, it takes like 2 minutes, it's way quicker than iTunes. You email them and they email you back the next day and they're like, great.
Oh, okay, all right, I might hit you up for some info.
Yeah, I can send that to you.
Is that okay?
Super, super, super easy.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Scene.
There you go, folks. That was my talk with Matt Marr. Thanks so much, Matt, for coming on and for having me on your podcast. It was a lot of fun. So you can subscribe to my podcast on iTunes. It's Scratch the Surface podcast on iTunes and on iHeartRadio. Go check me out on Twitter at EJ Scott, the podcast Twitter at EJ Podcast. We're on Instagram, EJ Scott 1106, and Scratch the Surface Podcast is also on Instagram. I have public Facebook accounts. EJScott.com is my website. And in 2012, I ran 12 marathons in 12 states in 12 months blindfolded. Because, as you heard during the podcast, I am losing my eyesight to an eye disease called choroideremia, and I raised a bunch of money that year in awareness, and I was able to get a portion of it recorded and turned into a documentary called Running Blind. That's a 30-minute documentary that you can find on iTunes or Amazon or Google Play, digital copies. And it's only like $2 or $3 to rent it or buy it. And I hope you will go and check it out. It'll be well worth your time and money. And I guess that's it. And we will see you next time. Thanks for listening.